For every city you burn, I'm gonna build one high.
Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtaroth, the voice of New Eden, and it is October 3rd, YC127, and this is the Eveners Show! Welcome, 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 guys. How's it going? I think this might be twice in a week. That's what a miracle. What a miracle. How's it going? Settle on in. By the way, we will have to put up with this little doodad on my thing. I just need to get like a thing to get the pro version of it. I'm using, so like, I don't know if you guys know this, but my webcam broke the other day. I was trying to figure out how to get a new one. They're like over 100. The good ones are like, you know, quite a bit. Balancing all these sorts of things on top of everything else. But somebody pointed out that I could just use my phone for one. And like, even though my phone is a high enough version, it doesn't have that like built-in capability it's supposed to have. Like and I'm an Android developer, so don't think I'm like I should know how to use Android stuff. So then, anyway, I just found a little app that does it. And there's a premium version that makes all of this go away. But like, I just need to get all that sorted out. And like, after I did everything else to get ready today, I noticed that and I was like, oh shoot, I still have to do that. All right, well, either way, hi guys. So if you have not already, I strongly recommend going back and watching my other live stream from this week, where we talk about Crimson Harvest and Vanguard and the lore and such. If you have not, now I do know that a lot of my live streams don't get like shared by YouTube in the same way as my if you just uploaded it, which is why I think I should. But like take it down, edit it a little bit, and then upload it again. But the point is that like unlike a lot of other my live streams or whatever, it isn't like multiple topics. I mean, it is multiple topics, but it's one through line. So I would say, especially if you want to know like what's going on in Eve right now, what's coming next, when it comes to the fusion of both like event wise, but also like story wise. Last episode, very important episode to go check out. Today, I do use OBS, and I can look up other solutions. That's true. I should probably just look up other solutions before I throw like $15 at the problem. But either way, oh shoot, hold on. I would prefer to eventually get like a dedicated webcam, because using my phone for this is inconvenient on multiple levels. But you know, whatever. Any rate, so it also looks like my mic peaked too. God. All right. Let me know if all my levels are good and everything like that. So at any rate, we've had a lot to talk about since I've been gone a lot. And we did not have enough time on Tuesday, I want to say Tuesday, to go over everything that we were supposed to get over. Uh-oh. Okay, I'll get to that in a second. Thanks, Malak. Okay, so on Tuesday, we covered predominantly this through line of this new story that's building up in the Eve universe, where it's basically what I'm just going to say, like basically the pre-story to Vanguard, the story of the development of the Bastions through Vanguard, or the previous Vanguard playtest, to now, and the news that came out, the scope news and the New Eden news. And then, of course, what is coming in the Crimson Harvest, which includes new sites that are specifically tied to this this upcoming, or this like ongoing lore crisis, right? Like, I know it's always a crisis, but like in this case, it's about Upwell's attempt to develop, well, really, it's about the Deathless's attempt to develop a more mobile technology than just using the Fulcrum, or a more distributed technology besides just using the Fulcrum in the Bastions with his Project Avalon, and the other groups, specifically Sorrow and to a lesser extent, and also Upwell, interested in, because like, so the Vanguard tech is its own tech. a lot of the other corporations or groups, rather, including Edencom, have been stealing technology from both the Drifters and from the Deathless in order to develop their counter-proposal to it. And the Deathless has been stealing from those efforts as well, as everybody kind of moves towards the development of more portable virtualities and deployment devices that would be like the Fulcrum, but like more individualized as the Bastions. So both the Avalon project by the Deathless and the other projects by the other people to steal the Avalon project is basically that next step as we head towards Bastions for next year. All right, so that's the TLDR. Yesterday's, or like last Tuesday's stream, we go into how all that intersects with what is going on right now. But also, before we go any deeper, I guess, we are going to look at what Malak just sent to me. Why is my browser not showing already? All right, hold on. No, seriously, why is this browser not showing already? Hold on. There we go. This says, intercepted message received. So this is from Eve Vanguard. Sorrow internal dossier Operation Black Castle. File reference redacted, origin redacted. So again, Sorrow is a branch of Concord. They are their Black Ops division. Oveg Dursk is one of the main people that leads it. All right, no problem, CSSU command. All right, so this says, the following transcript is an intercept we believe to be authored by Redacted, a seat of the Avalon High Table. Interdictor suggests that message was circulated to Vanguard under his vector command and later to select members of the Mantle Council. Tone is consistent with prior redacted communications. Okay, so this is Sorrow's claim of intercepting a message of the internal, like, Deathless Circle's communication. So this is the consistent with the prior redacted communications. So, my kindred, Avalon is finally real. The foundations of our bastion has been laid, yet the Deathless cast shadows of doubt upon her. I see their twisted silhouettes blot the stars. A coiling rage stirs within us all. Immortal Vanguard, the promises of Avalon rests in our hands. Our actions will now shape her destiny. We bleed for this chance at freedom. Our sacrifices must not be in vain. Await my call. The garden watches. Redacted. That's a really interesting one because, like, the biggest question of this is who could this be, right? And I'm recognizing that I'm reacting to this in real time. So who could this be? There's a couple of choices. So Avalon, I don't know how much we talked about this before, but Avalon is, of course, a reference, pretty directly reference to Arthurian legend, you know, the Knights of the Round Table and all that stuff. Well, then let's see what your guess is, and we'll see what I have to say about it, and we'll see how these match up. Okay, so Project Avalon was a thing as part of the Vanguard story, where basically what was happening during Nemesis is that the Deathless is trying to establish their first bastion, which was known internally during the event as Avalon, right? The Avalon Project, and to establish Avalon. So this is saying that Avalon is finally real. So the efforts of the Deathless during Project Nemesis, the last Vanguard event that just ended, was successful in developing their first bastion. Now, if you remember back from the other day, Sorrow openly knew by the end of it that Avalon was a bastion, and then that was the tech that they were trying to steal, trying to get their own version of in the end during the Vanguard event. So what's interesting is that, like, the first obvious answer is that Redacted should be the Deathless, right? Like, the Deathless is the one talking to people, and, like, my kindred seems kind of very, like, he has a very kind of hoity way of talking, and saying that it's consistent with his prior communications should make a lot of sense, because, like, he's the main person from the Deathless Circle that we have had a lot of communications with for it to be consistent with. Yet, it refers to this. The text refers to the Deathless, right? The foundation of our bastion has been laid, yet the Deathless cast shadows of doubt upon her. So this suggests that whatever the Avalon project is, like, isn't fully sanctioned by the Deathless. Maybe. So this leads me to believe who this might actually be. I have a guess. Well, there's another guess, which is that it could, of course, be Soldrun, right? Soldrun is a Mimitar that became part of the Deathless Circle through their associations with the Deathless before he became the Deathless, right? She was, I think she took over the Mimitar, the Harada Oki, if I remember correctly, or one of the main people that helped, or hold on. No, Soldrun was the Kaldari lady that he was imprisoned with that when they escape. So like, she's the Kaldari connection. She's the girl with the shoulder pad that was associated with, might have been there with in Valari when he got arrested. She's the guy, she's the girl, I should say, that brought the message to the Angels and the Garistas, inviting them to join him, join the Deathless in Zarzak. So she's a pretty big agent within the Deathless, and she's actually shown up in some of the Deathless's actions in-game as the person who's giving the message. Soldrun makes sense because the actual name Soldrun is also arguably an Arthurian reference. Now, this one's a little bit more weird. Hold on. I wasn't quite prepared to do this today, so give me 1 second. So, and this is what's interesting, is that there is a book trilogy. Now, careful, bright world. Hold on, let me see. Can I darken this? No, I don't. Yeah, I don't have dark mode on this right now. So, okay. There is this thing called the Lioness Trilogy, which is a book series that was written in 1983, I think. Is it going to tell me? Wait, does it not? Okay, hold on. I guess it's each book, right? So maybe? No. Okay, hold on. Oh, I guess that's the trilogy versus... No, that's the Kingdom of Legend. Maybe we can go to just like Amazon. Here we go. Will they have the information? Either way, it's a fair... Okay, whatever. It doesn't matter. The exact details don't matter. It was a book that came out relatively recently. Oh, 1983. Thank you, Thrans. But the other name of this is Soldrun's Garden, right? And Soldrun is this character in this story that is detailed, that is basically tied to... That? Okay. Is actually tied to Arthurian legend. So it is an associate of Arthurian legend, but it's also like a very modern book. Now, obviously, everything in EVE Online takes place, several thousand years in the future. So it doesn't really matter whether or not it's original Arthurian legend or like 20 years ago Arthurian, or oh God, I'm old. 40 years ago Arthurian legend. But yeah, Malada Harada is the Mimitar leader of the Deathless. That's right, the Harada Oki. So the point is that like this idea of garden, like Soldrun's Gardens, right? And so if the garden, the foundation of the bastion has been laid, the Deathless' shadows cast doubt upon her. I see their twisting silhouettes blot out the stars. The coiling rage stirs within us all. Immortal Vanguard, the promise of Avalon rests in our hands. Our actions will shape their destiny. We bleed for the chance of freedom. Hold on, there was another statement about gardens, right? Is this the only time it said where? Is this the one time it says garden in here? I think so. Okay. Yeah. So, but the point is that like this could theoretically be Soldrin because of this, and this could be Soldrin's garden. Soldrin could be one of the lead people who is associated with the actual Vanguard ownership. But there's also one other person that this could be, which is the Lifebringer, right? Lifebringer is the Caldari lady. Could Soldrin be the Lifebringer? I feel like we've chewed on this this question before. No. Could, yes? Maybe. Soldrin's probably not her real name either. So the Lifebringer is a character from Empyrean Age and Templar 1. And she is this Caldari who converted to Amarian religion and was basically this medic lady who is on the ground right there as the Templar stuff was happening. And so she gets picked up by, I think, one of the Caldari leaders and gets basically funded to help figure out what's going on with these clones, which eventually brings her to become kind of the guiding light of the Arcombine. And so she eventually teams up with the Deathless when the Deathless provides her and the Arcombine a solution. So she's been basically associated with shepherding these, the original Templar clones and Dust 514 clones into their, like, she's been their medic and, like, guide. Now, she was associated with the Deathless, especially early on in the whole Vanguard story. But what's interesting is that her name has not shown up a lot in the last couple of iterations of messages of people talking to us. The Arthurian connection is that Lioness is a mythic area of land mentioned in Tristan and Isolde. So there's a lot. Okay, so there's a lot to it, and it's a little bit cryptic or whatever. And this is something to continue to keep in mind. But we're going to keep an eye on this. I don't think we have much more to say about this, although this is a follow-up to last Tuesday. Also, as a follow-up to last Tuesday, I apologize. I almost forgot. In my Discord, which you can join, even if you're not in the convocation, you can come here and hang out and talk and all that stuff. In the Eve Universe show channel, Rocio Typho, the guy who did the putting a clone in every wormhole system, popped in and said hi. He also gave me a couple of corrections, so I do want to correct a couple of notes that he said. First of all, I was wrong. I thought that this was actually a different effort. I had heard about someone at Signal Cartel doing something like this. However, I was corrected. Rocio told me that they did not get help from Signal Cartel. However, they did ask Wingspan for locating the last handful of systems, which, by the way, he says that he found the systems before Wingspan did. So he asked him, it's like, hey, help me find these last few systems, and he ended up finding them before they did. He wanted to find, and he says that he wanted to find a difficult thing to do, and he'll have lots of fun maintaining it since the characters are not logged in at least once every 210 days. The character gets moved back to high sec. So he's got to log into each one of these 2,000 characters at least once every 210 days. But he just did it because he wanted to do it to do something hard. And he says that he's not in competition to Signal Cartel. So if you are lost in a wormhole and you need to get out, I guess either A, don't contact him, or B, offer him some reason to get you out. But I have talked to him, and we may be actually doing an interview. So I don't know if that's going to be live or recorded and put out or whatever. But I did want to give everybody that update because I did say things that ended up not being true, and I like to correct myself as soon as I can. So there's that. Also, like I said, you can always just come in and hang out with us in the Discord and, you know, hang out and talk in the Eve Universe show channel. All right, next. Right now, we are now to get to the real show before what I'd actually prepared to talk about. You know, it only took us 30 minutes to get here. That's fine. That's fine. So right now I'm actually on the test server. Vanguard to Soldrun to Lioness to Arthurian Legend back to Vanguard. I'm feeling more and more of an unplanned connection. Well, unplanned is not very, that's the ungenerous way of putting it, or unkind, not unkind, but you know what I mean. Another way of looking at it is like, as a storyteller, a lot of times you set up hooks later, not really understanding where those hooks are going to go. And also you find things to tie back to retroactively justify stuff, right? Like, this is just how to do storytelling, right? Like, you as a storyteller are thinking about this stuff, and if you figure out the connection before the people going through the story, then you can make that link really solid and make that be the plan all the time. So which piece, I mean, like, figuring out where each piece of this story was like established and like how much of it was clever in the moment stuff, happy accidents, planned stuff, notes in the past, I don't know. We would have to interview some of the storytellers and whatnot. But in the end, it doesn't really matter. Well, the Drifter, the other half of the Drifter planet is still unresolved. I mean, I think that a lot of that's, we talked about this before, and but like, I think a lot of that is going to start to be resolved in the expansion, next expansion. Because like, if you think about it, the winter expansion is the first expansion that they're doing after knowing the results of the Drifter hives. You have to have kind of known where that was going in order to really dial in the exact flavor of how the story is going to go. Like the fact that the Triglavians got one of the wormholes probably will affect their decisions in the end. But I think that a lot of this is going to go with like what is happening now that the people that have the Drifter stuff have the Drifter stuff, right? I think that in the end, you're right. I think the Drifter plan was always to be something that got undone, obviously. I think that, like, I don't even know if the CCP had like a version of the story where the Drifters won that would be so crazy to tell. And you'd have to like think about how that would even like play out. Like, obviously the players were like, the players engage with the story and like affect the nuance of it, but like, ultimately, a lot of the story takes place with powers that are far greater than us, right? Like, as big and powerful and cool as players are, the entire Drifter forces is something that we can only attempt to struggle against, not meaningfully change in a big way. Same with basically all the empires, right? So the fact that the empires were going to team up and push back against the Drifters, and more importantly, attempt to gain a foothold against the Deathless while doing so, I feel like that was a bit like, that was events that were too monumental for us to have changed the entire direction of how it goes. But the fact that the Gallente didn't get connected, the fact that the Triglavians did get connected, the fact that the Edencom as an entity independently of the empires got one, these are all facts that are 100% decided by the players. Was completely some of those results are completely unexpected by CCP, but are details that will need to be worked in to make sure that whatever happens makes sense based on what has happened, right? So how could they have been like a story that immediately followed up? Like, the only way they could have had that prepared is if all of the names were just needed to be filled in and you just push it out and it didn't matter who won, right? It's kind of like, it actually reminds me a lot of the Empress Caddis story, right? So they have the Empress dies to the Drifters. CCP obviously did that intentionally. Players could not have stopped that from happening. The Amar decide to have an alliance tournament, or not an alliance tournament, an Amar championship in order to select the new Emperor or Empress. The players did not get a choice in whether or not that is how the Empire would decide on the next leader and the rules of it. So the Empire, as the leaders, get to construct this tournament and its rules, and the players don't get to run the tournament, but they do get to participate in the tournament. And each of the heirs are interesting in their own way, right? Like if Sorum won versus Katastash Mercon won, Katastash Mercon is one of the most shrewdest of all of the heirs, and she's also got the closest ties to the Caldari, so it's going to be the most likely to open up the empire and kind of modernize it of all of the different ones. Meanwhile, Khanid had rebelled from the empire 200 years ago after he failed to become emperor last time, but now in order to reintegrate him and the Khanid empire, they're allowing him a second shot. What if he wins? He could have won if the championship, if the team that wanted to represent Khanid had won the Amar championship, we would have Emperor Khanid right now, probably. Right? Same with Ardashapur. If Ardashapur had won, we would have had a significantly more isolationist and like traditionalist Amar than we have now. So what I'm saying is that each one of those solutions, who could have become emperor, each of those, I want to say 6, but yeah, it was 6 at the time, right? Each of those 6 had their own ramifications. It would be interesting for each one of them if their champion won, and it would have affected the story from then going on. CCP could not have created like one resolution that like whoever wins, just whatever. They just had to wait and see who won the Alliance tournament or the Amar Championship, and then basically go on from there and figure out how that affects every single thing after that. That's how you build this kind of story. So in the same way, they couldn't have possibly have been fully prepared for whatever came from the Drifter Crisis immediately after the Drifter Crisis, just from a practical point of view. Now, did they bungle the handover? A little bit, yeah. Like, it would have been nice for us to immediately, like, for instance, for example, if we had immediately launched into the Gallente presidency, that would have been a nice distraction from the fact that there's nothing happening on the Drifter thing, which would allow all of this, like, secret development in the Drifter holes to be more meaningful. Right now, with nothing happening, the fact that there's this secret thing going on behind the scenes and us unable to investigate it or explore it is extremely frustrating. But again, I think that Malak is absolutely correct with what he suggested the other day, which is that the Vanguard stuff, the squalls that we were hunting during the Vanguard event, were actually Upwell helping Eating Calm smuggle materials and data and other stuff from the Drifter holes into the new laboratories, which will be what we are going through and hunting through during the Crimson Harvest event. That in fact Upwell and Eating Calm are actively working together to create their own anti-Vanguard solution, which will then blow up to allow other groups to have their own bastions, which will eventually blow up to be players being able to have their own player-built bastions, etc., all by next summer, right? The NPC bastions by next summer, player bastions by TBD, right? So if only Khanid would win, then maybe we would have cool Khanid stations back. Yeah, I mean, like, definitely. Absolutely. So, anywho, again, a lot of that has to do with stuff that we were talking about on Tuesday, and we'll be keeping track of this as we go on. But for today, I wanted to talk a little bit about what's the other stuff that's been going on, which is Gold Rush, which still ties into all of this stuff. So let's go ahead and start. I'm actually on Singularity right now. Singularity is still open at the moment. Yesterday, I did try to get on, but it wasn't working right. And then, 2 days ago, I tried to get on. I can't remember all the last couple of days have been very busy and involving, parenting. So I've lost kind of track of time. But the point is that I was trying to log on to check out the map stuff to show you guys. but I could never actually get on while the map stuff was there. And then now we are doing the graphical controller optimization mass test, which I thought was today because I entirely missed a day, which is why I was on here right now. But I figure I might as well show it off a little bit. So this was yesterday. Were to happen some point next summer around that time. I'm not going to put any promises. CCP was super sketchy. We'll have to see how well NPC bastions work, right? Anywho, okay, so dedicated capsuleers. Your testing prowess is required once again. Yesterday, a singularity mass test will assess the upcoming client optimization that reduces CPU load and optimizing the frequency of graphical animations based on camera distance. So yeah, that is what happened yesterday. I haven't seen anything about it, have I? Hold on. What have been people saying about it? Looks like it was fine-ish. Either way, Sissy's still online, so you could go check it out if you want to. I was hoping to get on and show off the new map, but unfortunately, we won't be able to do that. However, they did put out a video about the map and everything, but we're going to kind of do this in order. And a week or so before that, so I think, hold on. So 11 days ago, they posted this video entitled Major Update, Gold Rush, and Vanguard Integration. So this was as Vanguard was coming out, just after the major update, and they started talking about Gold Rush. This was the video I really, really, really wanted to react to, but of course my life has been chaos, so we're only getting to this now. But I have actively not actually watched this video, so I'm going to watch this now and let people and kind of talk about it and my thoughts about it as we go. So let's go ahead and jump into it. I am going to put it on 1.5 times just so that we can get through it faster, because we do have other videos to check out. He looks so assuring, like a wolf in sheep's clothing. Who? What? Oh, hold on.
CCP Ratati are with me here for, well, a chat. Okami, you like to speak to the community.
Love to, yeah.
And you came over earlier. Like, yeah, we got some stuff to talk to the community. Can we just throw out a podcast?
Yeah,
oh
so
my gosh.
Every month I try to do a Discord check-in. I think Discord's a great place to be. But there's a lot of stuff happening right now, lots of stuff.
I think 1.25 is a good medium between making them talk a little bit faster. They already talk pretty fast, so we're going to just stick at 1.25, because I think 1.5 I might lose some people.
Why not just come jam, talk about it? We got Ratati here, so
Yeah.
No better time.
Yeah. No, I'm like, just glad to sit down and
so just once again, CCP Okami is one of the latest, he's the newest one of like basically the head 3 people that make EVE Online happen. It's Okami, Ratati, and Burger. Those are like the 2 executive producer level people. He's the newer one. He has been the most aggressive when it comes to newer updates, very closely associated with Revenant major update. That was when he really got well known. A lot of what he has to say, the player base is over time, like, in general, the player base has been extremely positive about Okami and what he has to say. Almost the exact opposite can be true about CCP Ratati. CCP Ratati's been in the with the company for quite some time. He was part of the the shooter stuff for a while. He moved over as the economic guy back in 2018, 2019. He was kind of the face of a lot of the less popular changes, including the stuff that happened during scarcity. However, like, that doesn't mean that I'm not saying bad things about him. He's like, per se. He does a lot of the hard things that make the game better. He's very focused on making the ecology of the game, the way that everything kind of interacts in a meaningful way, and to make sure that the economy remains healthy. I'm just saying, like, he is a very old school guy that the player base has generally been fairly hostile to during most of the time that they've known his name. And Okami is a relatively newer executive producer that the player base has been overwhelmingly positive about so far. So let's see how these two go.
And not really know what you're going to tell me.
And this time we're not in a vault.
And we're not in a vault. Well,
I've been meaning to reach out and see whether or not Rattati wants to do an interview again with me. Like, he's a cool dude. I've done some stuff with him. I went and, like I said, he just, like, balancing the economy, like, means hurting people's feelings and making sure that people, like, remember, CCP, like, their job in a lot of ways, especially when it comes to PvE, is to make challenges for us. So the fact that the things that he's putting into the game make things more annoying is actually, like, to some people, is opportunities for other people. Anyway, I digress. Not the point for today. Let's go.
we need a vault.
Yeah, can you get us one of those, Rattati?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
What is
My
the
cup.
vault budget?
Yeah. Do we have a vault budget?
I like how like senior management does not know about our
Yeah,
secret
they don't
vault
know,
where we store
right?
our
Yeah.
secrets and all that stuff. Yeah, right.
That's
Yeah. Okay. One thing that we want to maybe kick off with discussing is basically just kind of this notion that and discussion that spawned now after the Legion Major update that we did. What is it now? 2 weeks ago?
Mhm.
Or, no, a week ago.
Week.
And basically just from the point of, well, understanding what the cadence is. We do expansions.
Yep.
We do updates. Obviously, we do patches.
So remember, like, one of the biggest concerns, like I was even talking about this, where like the Legion expansion and in general has been like a, wait, that's it kind of feeling to it. It always feels like they're talking about what's coming later instead of what's coming now. And a lot of us, including myself, put a lot of hope in the Legion Major Update. So when the Legion Major Update came out, it felt very much like a combination of wait, that's it, but also the fear that a lot of the things that were talked about at FanFest as being part of Legion or around Legion, like the things that aren't part of the Legion Major Update, like for instance, the map stuff, which at the time of like the Legion Major Update wasn't even announced what the next step of that was. Like, where is this stuff? Where is the Legion expansion? Where is Gold Rush? Where is stuff about salvaging? Where is anything that's shown in the first like half of the trailer for the expansion? And so like that criticism is, I think, what they're directly addressing here, where it's like, what is the Legion Major Update? Because like we put a lot of hope on the Legion Major Update because the Revenant Major Update was really cool. And so we associate the two. Either way, I'm interested in their answer.
And stuff like that. But like balance changes come in kind of specific places.
Yep.
So maybe just start running a little bit through that. We did.
Sure.
Legion came out in May.
Legion was in early June.
It was early June. Yeah,
Early
yeah. FanFest was in May.
That's right.
Yeah.
Just after.
FanFest tickets
after
are on
FanFest.
sale for 2026.
Yeah, I'll see you there.
and we
Um,
totally remember it happened.
Like videos
Yeah,
on
I mean,
YouTube
guys
that
have a
you
lot of
watch
things,
and like.
on stage there, especially for the
Including
E
this
keynote.
one.
Maybe the Legion keynote was more maybe down to what came in the expansion. But yeah,
So yeah, major updates. I talked about them at FanFest. They're kind of a newish thing to us, at least in the way that we're framing them as major updates and where we're releasing them, when we're releasing them, why we're releasing them. When are our major updates?
I think this has been a call from the community. Like, I think we've had ups and downs in how we approach balancing and meta updates. So we decided to just formalize
for
this
moving that.
concept, kind of rebrand it as major updates.
wait,
Which-
are you telling me that back in 2003 we didn't already have a schedule on how the updates in 2026 would be?
So it's always like, how often do they happen? Did they have a name? Were they patches? Were they releases? What, like, we've been loose around the terminology of this. So we just decided, okay, let's just formalize this. An expansion is an expansion. It has a lot of kind of hard to make features that need to be scheduled well in advance and planned out.
New ships.
For 20 years, I've on principle never liked or disliked a video that asked for it. I mean, on the one hand, I get I get the instinct, but on the other hand, like, it's designed to be a signal, right? Like, I don't know. Don't hate the player, hate the game, I guess. It's just how it works. It's how you get to be successful. It's what you're allowed. It's what you have to do to be allowed to do what we get to do on this platform.
Ships, actual new features, new gameplay. Whereas the balancing meta economy stuff is more loose. It's more kind of like change numbers or change distributions, etc. So we don't need to complicate our lives on the development side by doing both at the same time. But we also had this call from the community to say, can we have a predictable kind of cadence on the major, like on balancing, for example? Because we've gone through, like maybe once every 2 weeks, we were trying to do a balance update, change a ship, and we got the feedback. Okay, love the spirit, guys, but this is kind of, we can't keep up. Like, you change something and we try to adapt. We need to build the ships. We need to refit the ships. We need to spend like a week in Python.
And
Like,
we
we
also
can't
just
keep up.
We also see the time that it takes. Like, something might seem very well balanced or in a good place right now, but then people figure shit out.
Yes.
And it's it's completely broken again.
So we want to formalize it. We're going to change the meta in some way, affect the meta, fix the things that are broken regularly, and we have a time like spot between expansions where we kind of say, okay, we need to look at this, and we are already starting to look at the next major update, and then we don't have embarrassingly long times where like there's an OP meta of a ship or something. We have like a 6-month check-in, just completely locked in. We promise to take a look at it. But I think the approach to the major update has been really interesting with the CSM and all that.
Yeah, I think the approach is good.
So there's an interesting thing here, right? Because like it was already pointed out that a lot of this has to do with like just rebranding the same things. So if you like, when they ended doing expansions, they wanted to do an update every 6 weeks or so, which was really cool. But then eventually that translated into quarterly like major updates, so that way they can. The big thing about expansions versus updates is that expansions are advertisable, they are marketable, they are like focus is to be like, now come check out our stuff. Whereas small incremental updates have a good way of like kind of getting in there, but like doesn't. It's always better to kind of bundle up some of your updates and like brand it as an expansion, usually. So, you know, they move back towards expansions, but then like 2 expansions a year, they have always had like follow-up patches within an expansion, and quarters really created this cadence of like 4 times a year. And so the idea that the other half of the quarters would be major updates makes sense. And what's interesting is that this priority, even though we hadn't caught on to it, I hadn't caught on to this. We even looked at this in the Revenant Major Update. A lot of the Revenant Major Update was actually just balance tweaks too, not feature updates, right? This is one of the things that we were looking at when we were seeing like, oh, well, the map didn't come with the Legion Major Update. We were expecting these features to come with the Legion Major Update because so much came with the Revenant Major Update. But the Revenant Major Update was mostly just new sites and tweaks and stuff in order to appease nullsec and other pieces of the game. And so it actually would have made more sense to expect basically what we got. This is, of course, me saying this in hindsight. What they're saying, though, makes a lot of sense. Because, like, right now, a lot of their major developers, actual development effort that was happening, call it a month ago, as we were getting towards the Legion Major Update, they weren't working on the Legion Major Update. They were working on the next expansion, right? They have to be. If they want the expansion ready in time, they've got to be. Hi. Hey, Zoria wanted to say hi, apparently. Hold on. Hold on. Hi. You want to say hi? Hi. This is who you feed with your likes, comments, and subscribes. There you go. Well, that and the guineas, obviously. All right. So, yeah. So, the idea being that the major update, like the expansion is where the feature set largely gets put in. Now, obviously, features can be put in whenever they're ready. But, like, the expansion is about feature sets, whereas the major update is about balance passes and tweaks and follow-ups. Like that, actually, that makes a lot of sense. I'm totally cool with that paradigm. Hold on, I might be able to get her more in the camera, a little bit more in the camera. Aw, like the stream for the puppy. Hi, Zoe. All right. Let's keep going.
And just the like bulk of the change too, like why it's a major update and not just an update or a minor update or something like that is like honestly, if you look at the patch notes, they're longer than our expansions patch notes, right? Like there
It
are
took us 2.5 hours to go over it.
yeah, right, yeah, no, that was great. I love that.
And I will admit there were a few off-content routes we took off topic, but yeah, there was a bunch to cover.
But I mean, this is healthy. Like Eve, at its heart, is about like efficiency and problem solving, right? And I think people solve problems pretty fast. We've got a lot of really smart players, and it's really healthy not just to fix problems, but for us to be meaningful in how we want to like do things like change our ship balance so that there are specific new metas and things that people need to form. Like that's healthy, and I think. I've certainly seen a lot of positive feedback about it. I know not every change we make is popular, but that's fine. That's why we're going to keep this cadence up because
it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
A change shouldn't be.
No, right.
When my OP stuff gets broken, I get pissed off.
What OP ship are you flying right now, by the way?
My ships seem to never be OP, and that's the problem I have with balancing.
Be sure it's your ship.
Yeah, I mean, it is the only thing I can point to.
Okay.
It's
all good pilots blame their equipment.
Yeah, maybe it's the weather or or somebody else is cheating.
Or like the guys you're flying with, right? It's maybe them.
So yes, but I just don't want to throw them under the bus here.
Such a kind
Yeah.
fellow.
He doesn't want to be exposed. Like, don't pay, like us to pay attention to it. That's the
But okay, I'm gonna do something.
rein it in.
We had a very long answer to this because it all makes sense. But before we go, deep dive basically the major updates and those things. If we just look at 12 months of EVE Online development, what happens? There's an expansion. Last one came when, like shortly after FanFest, announced at FanFest, and amazing, like shocking that we would have a reveal there.
Yeah.
But there is a cadence, and there is a plan. I've noticed. I've been looking through comments and stuff like that. There's quite a few people out there that have a hunch based on former experience when they might hear something next and stuff like that. But this whole thing of things being mentioned, for example, at FanFest, what people maybe don't quite realize is that we're talking about a 12-month period at least, or until basically next FanFest that we're talking about there, and maybe potentially some, when it's to vision stuff and such. But maybe if we just, Ratati, if you maybe just go through kind of how the cycle is.
Yes. So we are always trying to look even further beyond the next expansion. So I would say that okay, I'll just talk about the strategy. So strategy is kind of a 3 to 5 year thing for us. And we're kind of in the middle right now of having gone through 3 years of starting with the first Uprising expansion. And we're kind of in that period of like, okay, what have we achieved in that? And we've achieved a lot. And the part of it was to kind of stick to a theme and iterate between expansions and on expansion and on expansion. I think we've proven that with core projects, organizational goals. We started small, but then we ended up with freelance projects, core projects, etc. So we've stuck through our guns and kind of iterated and given teams the time to actually 3 years. We want to go from A to B. So we're in the transition period right now, and we talked about that at FanFest, saying like, okay, we're kind of...
That tracks. Like I said before, like in general, it seems like from the time that we hear about it, or like they start working on something versus a feature turnaround, has historically been about 2 years for a lot of the bigger things. And so, like, it makes sense that they see it as 3 years because it's probably, we don't necessarily always get in at the ground level, but like, yeah, that tracks. I mean, like, software development can be hard. And a lot of these things are happening in parallel. And a lot of this feature, like the ability to work in parallel like this, was created by CSP Siegel in how she, like, kind of restructured our design, design cadence. But either way, let's keep going.
At the end of the life cycle here, and we are kicking off a new life cycle in themes for the next 3 years. One of those was Gold Rush. The other one was called War Engines. Maybe that's not the best name.
So like the themes, so I wonder how much, so they've talked to us about the different pillars of development that they had with like corporation identity, war, these different, I can't remember all of the pillars off the top of my head, but a lot of different pieces like skins and logos and corp branding were all part of those different themes and pillars. And so they're talking about new themes and pillars as part of a new set of cycles. So in a lot of ways, and this is kind of confirmation of what we've already been talking about and thinking about, which is that they're kind of closing the door on the chain of events that led from Uprising all the way through Equinox when it comes to like their development. Now, obviously, they can always reapproach those topics or whatever. But I'm just saying, like, there was an arc of development that kind of led through all of this, where they did faction warfare first, and then they did nullsec, right? And it seems like that idea that they had in mind, which they were communicating most of the time, and I thought was 4 years, but I mean, obviously, ends up being about 3 years apparently. Like that one's wrapping up, and so like they're building a whole nother set of like, where is this going? And it's critical that this is happening right as Vanguard is getting ready to be released, because this is basically all about next level storytelling, live storytelling within the universe, which Gold Rush is about, like, so, or more importantly, making a living universe, making things happen in the universe, which is where Gold Rush really comes in.
Name, we'll talk about it later, but Gold Rush is the most imminent one. And it's not an expansion, it's not a feature. It's a theme for the teams to work on with like proper guidance, but also that players can understand, okay, it's Gold Rush themed, it's kind of frontier, it's hostile, it's scary, it's dangerous, but it's a lot of lucrative resources, it's Klondike, etc. So that's the kickoff. And then we break it out piecemeal into maybe, let's say, 18 months. Like, what are the 3 next expansions? How can we kind of leapfrog, figure out things, iterate, and so on? So we are now, yes, we are going to do an expansion in this year, another one. By Christmas, big surprise.
Spoilers.
So now we have this major update, which is often about maybe fixing the last expansion, iterating on it. This time we didn't have to fix a lot. So it's mostly about balance and meta. And we're going into the next expansion.
If you don't do a lot, you don't have to fix a lot. Nope, I'm over here. And I've been over here for a while now. I have over 700 videos now in my backlog, so enjoy that.
And we're going to hear way more about it when the time is right, but that's kind of the cycle.
So an expansion cycle is essentially, it gets announced and everything like that. Expansion is live, and then there are a couple of updates. One of them being the major update, like we just saw.
Yep.
They like for Legion, there was one small content update basically, and then quite a lot of tweaks with that. But then we had the major update, which is kind of like maybe disruptive in some ways to metas and other such things. But this is kind of like a 6-month cycle that we're talking about.
It's a 6-month cycle between expansions. But if we've also talked about having predictable patterns where we upgrade the technology. So Eve Evolved is a beat that we're trying to strengthen as well, because you don't want to change technology, graphics, foundation, server, whatever, on an expansion. You want to battle test it before. So we pick a place kind of before or after an expansion, which is kind of good for that. So Eve Evolved is a beat that we're trying to aim for.
And that explains why a lot of the updates that happen in between the expansions have been graphical, the smoke and fire, et cetera, et cetera. You don't want something that might actually break everything on like a mechanical, physical level happening at the same time as your big expansion where you want everybody to come check it out. That makes sense.
February and August, kind of in the low season in some way, like post-expansion, pre-major update. So we get this Eve Evolved beat, major update, expansion. And that's the pattern we're trying to kind of be consistent about.
And that's kind of where we get to, which is was the whole thing about discussing that.
Stellaris is a good example of what not to do in that regard. Yeah, Stellaris posts everything in the expansion. So like the worst day to play Stellaris is the expansion day. I agree with that. And it used to be that like, oh, patch day, put on a long queue or whatever. But like, if you think about it, EVE Online has put a lot of focus in making sure that expansion day is almost mundane in comparison to like other games' expansion day.
Yes, which is that, yes, the word major update might sound like a major content update, but that is something that we'll kind of leave for expansions.
Yeah. So just to be like, I think super concise and clear, our expansions are generally new features, new ships, new systems, things like that. Major updates are more focused on what I call like hygiene, like cleaning up stuff that might be a bit broken or not quite working from the expansion release, as well as major balance and ecosystem updates. So last major update was more focused on mining. This one's more focused on ships and ship meta. So that's generally what we can expect.
And we try to get like quality of life stuff in.
Yeah.
We try
that's
to
always
get,
coming in there.
it's good to have focus. Like now we can ask more like, okay, what's planned? Like instead of saying like, we should probably do, instead like we can ask, what's planned for the quality of life bit in the major update? So it's like it's expected, and the team's kind of like, we always have a backlog. So it's also a
really
opportunity for them to, I always wanted to fix this. Let's fix it. So it's really healthy to see where we're at the moment. But I think we didn't talk much about the habitats, like just all the stuff that we've been doing on Pochven, wormholes. This hasn't been done for like a very long time because it gave a little bit of a heads up time for a designer, a team to go in and say, okay, what's really wrong with Pochven? Like, let's go talk to the people that live there, do some research, and do like a targeted improvement pass. On that.
Shout out to CCP Rampant, who's been crushing that. So, yeah, making space for people like him to do good work there.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so we established this, and now I kind of have quite a few notes and stuff. Basically, kind of like you were saying earlier, you want to, well, you don't want to, you literally always go to the community, go to the Discord, get the feedback, and there's kind of a few things that we've compiled from there that we want to discuss. Maybe just starting off with this major update now.
It's not exciting for the average player, I guess. For me, it would be, but for more people who want a more spectacle, it's probably a bit more mundane. I mean, yeah, that's true, but I think that it also has to do with the fact that, like, EVE expansions, unlike other video games expansions, like in a theme park, is usually a whole bunch of new things to go check out, right? They expand the treadmill, they put out a whole new level of zones, you've got whole new things to do. EVE expansions are often, well, like expanding what is already there and tweaking things. And so, like, even on the biggest expansion day, like logging in, you can be like, wait, what's different? Not much is different, right? So that's just the nature of it. But my point is that, like, sometimes we can have spectacularly different days on expansion. Like Uprising, for example, fundamentally changed how faction warfare worked. Other things like that. Like, there are new features, there are new things to jump into that are different than ever before. But my point is that, like, infrastructure-wise, we don't tend to have a problem with, like, the servers not coming up on expansion day or on, like, a lot of basic stuff. Maybe the expansion related stuff may have some little bugs and stuff that need to be worked out or whatever. But, like, overall, like, as they're pointing out, like, they're not also deleting boots.ini on expansion day, right? They're going to delete boots.ini in between expansions. So it's less people notice it, and it's less of a big meme. Yes, they did delete boot.ini once. Yes, it bricked every computer that did it, or that it happened to. It was the Apocrypha expansion. It's really funny. There's an item in game that celebrates this. Either way, I digress. So far, everything that they're talking about, like, I agree with their philosophy totally. This is great.
The balancing changes and such. I mean, feedback's there. People that loved certain ships might be unhappy. People that felt they were left out somehow also. What's your kind of general take on? I think it's been mostly super positive, to be honest.
It's honestly, it's mostly been positive. I think the feedback thread continues to be active. Like, every once in a while I look at it and I'm like, should I close it? But, like, lots of good discussion in there. I see Young Puke from CSM constantly engaged, which is awesome. He's been a huge help. So yeah, I think, like, it's been generally positive for me. It's more about the philosophy of how we're tuning, and I think how we're kind of doing these big batches of changes as opposed to just fix that ship and not change this ship. So this is the part that I'm starting to see land, is this pattern that we're creating for major updates, and for saying we're not just going to change this ship and this ship and this ship. It's like, here's 50 ships that we're going to change all.
Wait, it wasn't Apocrypha. It was Trinity? Trinity. It was Trinity, right? Yeah, it was Trinity. It was when they did the graphics update. It was the graphics changeover that had them accidentally delete boots.ini or boot.ini. Not Apocrypha. My bad.
All at once, and here's a new meta for you to go figure out. So, and the economics around that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's pretty successful, and we'll probably keep up.
Yeah, because, like, you can see, like, the Trinity graphics engine. If you go watch the Trinity trailer, like, it shows, like, a change in their graphics. It's when they went from, like, their old school style to, like, the more modern look of things. And so as part of that, they completely redid their graphics engine. But for some reason, they had named their booting file for their graphics engine boot.ini. That's the init file for the booting of the graphics engine, which was in the root folder, or which was in a particular folder within the EVE structure. And so when it went to go patch, it would try, the patching was done relativistically. And so it tried to find the folder, but, like, if for some reason the patcher was set up wrong or something happened wrong on their computer, that patcher could default to the root file, the root folder. And so root folder boot.ini is the initiation folder file for Windows. So when they're trying to update Trinity and they delete the boot ini that they think is in their graphics folder, but is in the root folder, suddenly that computer's bricked until they reinstall Windows.
Up this pace. If anything breaks in between, we have space. We totally will make changes if we need to, but nothing feels broken or off right now.
But if we talk about it from kind of like the philosophy going into just the tuning and the balancing, you know, you have this, like you're saying, individual ship balancing and such, but it's also ecosystem basically.
Yeah.
So what's the philosophy going into this?
Yeah. So I mean, we can talk a little bit about this. Something you and I have jammed on a bit is do we, since major updates are like a new pattern we're establishing, we're looking at the pattern that seems to be working right now. Last March was an ecosystem one, so that was more focused on things like resources, taxes, general mineral availability.
Sure,
all
Ratati shows up and
all
we
the fun
mentioned
stuff.
taxes.
Yeah. Oh, we love our taxes, right?
No, I mean, whenever tax season comes around Iceland, I call Ratati and just, hey, do you want to sit down with me? I'm about to do my taxes.
Yeah,
I hate it,
yeah.
but I know this is
Next time we should
this is
just next time we do the show, we should just start like chatting and we talk about taxes and you just like pop up from under the desk. Taxes.
Ratati would want me to live stream the tax returns.
I assure you, I think I'm talking about taxes way more than Ratati these days. But yeah, so I think we're looking at maybe our earlier release in the year being more ecosystem focused and later in the year being more ship focused. We're still kind of like thinking through that, so not fully committed to it yet. But there will always be a blend. Like there's no.
It is really funny that CSP Ratati just had to sit there and take it while they made fun of him. He's just like, yeah, I like numbers.
It must be this way currently.
But let me stop you a little bit because you said release there, or earlier in the year and or later in the year. The later in the year being focused on like you said, ships.
Yes.
Are you talking about expansions here?
Major
major
updates
updates.
specifically.
You're talking about major updates
Yes.
here, right?
The expansion is a more of a staple thing.
Right.
Like,
So you're talking about tuning here.
Yes,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah,
We're still on
yeah,
that. Yeah. I felt like it gone.
the spring major update might be 60% ecosystem mining, stuff like that, trade, whatever, 20% ships, 10% quality of life, and then you switch up the ratio on the second one. Well, it's a moving target. We also just need to fix what we need to fix sometimes.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, I cut you off there.
No,
but,
that's good. I think I was just rambling.
So on that topic, I'm going to move to the next one.
Sure.
The map and the Neocom, very
Yeah.
specific things that people hold close to heart. Have I tried the 2D map? Maybe.
Oh. Yeah, this is one definitely. So spending a bit of time with the community.
There is another video that's about the 2D map that we will probably be looking at today. That came out a couple days later. See, it's right here. So this was actually posted 5 days before the map post. So just to make sure that we have everybody on the same page.
Reading messaging and what players are talking about. I heard there's a major update, but you guys talked about this stuff at FanFest. We're excited about it. Where is it?
But that ties into kind of this feeling that people have that what is discussed at FanFest is only for Legion, basically. And now it's like the final Legion major update.
Yep.
But hey.
Yeah. The perception at FanFest is just about the next expansion.
While
FanFest is about the next.
And the problem was that FanFest was about trying to get a beat on what was going on in Legion, and so much of Legion was like, we're coming out with this little thing now, but then later we're going to do this, and like how much later any given piece was kind of unclear. I mean, like, I don't know. They put up some charts about it. I feel like even trying to go back and piece it all together after the fact was pretty rough. I feel like they'd done a better job in previous years of being like, this is our map for the whole year and this is what it means. But like, there's so much of this stuff is like, this is what's coming in Legion. And it's this small piece. And later in Legion, during the Legion major update, after Legion, during Legion and beyond, like all these different phrases were used about like time scales for these different things. All with in mind, I feel like they were originally intended for these map changes and the map improvements, and what would eventually be a prerequisite for Gold Rush was supposed to be ready at the beginning of Legion and then wasn't. I think that some critical features were not quite ready, and so they're kind of playing the game of like when they will be ready, when will the like prerequisites be prepared for us to move on to the next thing. So there are things that they're excited about, but they can't necessarily deliver on fully yet. And they don't really know when. but like here it is. And it's kind of always been that way when it comes to Legion. And like whatever, it's fine. I get that like there might have been some pretty critical setbacks that put it in, but like yeah, that's why we keep on watching this and being like, wait, when is these Legion things supposedly coming with Legion? Maybe like a big like follow-up to be like, this is the timeline of where we're at, this is the timeline where we were. But at the same time, like CCP has been kind of doing this, like things come out when they come out, so that way we aren't like things are surprising. And so a consequence of that is that like in that fog of we don't quite know what's going on, we're going to come to certain conclusions. So it is good to be like, hey, where is that stuff? Where are we at now? Where are we at now?
12 to 18
12,
months.
18 months, yes.
Yeah. So we where we can, I think at FanFest, we try to be specific, but like game development, it's hard. Timing things is weird. And so really we'll just try to give clarity as soon as we know when a thing can be, we'll like come and talk about it. In this case, we're not doing the Neocom for the major update, obviously, or the map. So that's not the intention. However, it's a little like, keep watching. We're going to be talking about map stuff pretty soon. So not
Yeah,
gonna
within
say
the
quite,
week
quite when yet,
of this
because I don't want to
post.
spoil things for other people who are involved in the map. But
Is
just
that the point where I go like and subscribe?
like and subscribe. Yeah, just pay attention. It'll be soon. Soon, I promise. Soon, right? Soon. Soon?
Yeah, yeah.
Soon.
Yeah, the word soon
Should
is
have
the
like,
most annoying.
Like very soon. How about
No,
very soon?
Should have like the judges, when you 6, 7 kind of thing. You could have like soon TM.
Yeah,
Like-
exactly. Soon. Actually, I have
Give me emojis in game, and I'll give you emojis in my podcast.
to find it. I have a T-shirt with like a cat on it, and it's like evil looking, and it says "soon." I should just wear that. So these, I know it sucks to hear soon, but like I really mean soon. So like,
Yeah. So I think it also sucks for us. Like, it is very like this is not just making stuff. Like there is stuff that happens on the way. So we for every feature, we have just a level of commitment. We literally never know, and no one can ever know if it's going to be an expansion. We just have a cone of certainty. Some things are anchored, and we just have to have them, hell or high water. So there's a commitment. There's approved for expansion. There's probably an expansion. Hope is an expansion, kind of. And sometimes they're a moving target a little bit. Like sometimes we think, okay, well, they're both approved, but we can definitely get this one first in. That's the more important one. Now, is it on date, or is it in the kind of post-release, like in the first 30 days after expansion, where we're trying to clean up all the stuff that we almost got into the expansion? So this is not an exact science, but both of these things are in the state of approved and committed. It just delivery is soon.
Yep. And actually, I just want to talk about why I'm saying soon and why I'm not telling people. Like, I think there's actually something important here too, which is like, first off, I love spoiling shit, and I'll like talk about stuff all night and all day. Like, if I can, I'll do it. But there's often like a lot of people who are like super invested and involved in these things on the development side, and I know that they have some plans. So I just want to like make space for them to be able to like kind of own the cool stuff that they've been doing, and I know that they're going to do that soon. So that's why I say soon and not say when it's going to be.
Fair enough.
Or if it's,
Yeah.
Well, we've kind of told the if a lot of times on this specific one.
you
But
never
yeah,
know.
You never know. No.
But if there is one if, so kind of not if the Neocom colors, so that's still a thing we have prioritized. We want it's not going to happen just yet. Well, it's definitely like we'll talk about it when it's going to happen. It is on our big backlog of things that are moving through stuff, but just to set some expectations, it's not soon.
All right. Yeah, it's one of those things that I've, for example.
It's such a funny thing, like to compare how things get processed from a development side versus from a player side. Because like on a development side, both of these things, the 2D map and the changing in the Neocom, are they're both just promises that they've made about how to change the UI. And you know, obviously the map is probably a much more weighty commitment that requires more stories and cycles dedicated to it in order for it to be completed versus changing the colors. But at the same time, we don't actually know how much effort it would take to be able to do different colors on different Neocom icons, and the ability to customize that, and building the UI to customize that, and then having to go through different design teams, et cetera, and whether or not it's even feasible without significant reworks of the code, blah, 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 blah. And so like, from there, like they feel equally responsible to give an update on these things. But like the 2D map is something that the player base has like hinged their love of Legion on. And the recoloring of the UI is something that most people probably haven't even noticed didn't actually get put in after it was said it would, or it might, or whatever. So like, I don't know. Logi on kill mails.
As a player, never been like super invested in, but I can definitely feel there's a lot of people that are super invested in
totally.
that exact thing.
I think people like customization and just like being able to lay things out and make it look the way you want. Like it matters a lot.
Yeah, but then people like me don't have style, taste, or the ability to do something pretty, so I just kind of go.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
I mean, I just
What's
saw your
default?
Photoshop skills earlier, right?
Yeah, no, but and the funny thing about this, on the whole map thing, and I promise you, the group working on that are just a joy to talk to about this stuff, and
They're crushing it.
I've been pulled in quite a few times, and like I think they are asking me to try something up. It's just as a player, how do you do this? And then I notice that they're just super like creepily looking at my fingers and stuff. Like what is he clicking? How does he?
What are you
do
doing
that?
with your pinky
Yeah,
there?
like did you left click or did you right click? It's like looking for all those things. So yeah, but it's so funny because in so many levels of game development, quite often the things that seem really simple are so freaking complex, and when you start thinking about just the amount of data that is actually being harvested and displayed and stuff like that in the map, it is bonkers. So, but yeah,
You don't see some of this like qualitative and quantitative. Like we collect a lot of data, but we also study people and ask do surveys, etc. And we get people into here. We have this kind of one-way glass thing where we observe people playing Eve.
I mean, they're not wrong. Like, from a person who's done UI, UX before and all these kinds of things, like, the map is terrifying. There's so much data that's required in order to display the stuff that's on the map. And, like, when do you load that? When do you refresh it? It's like, yeah, I don't, I agree. It could get pretty wild.
And we've been doing some of these experiments now in the last couple of weeks where we just basically, those of us who had kids, we made them play Eve. Just see what happened. And those were they're very, very interesting observations.
Maybe we should actually like bring out some of the quotes from that playtest. It was pretty funny.
I think "Dad, I hate you" was one.
Yeah,
that's a different top now. But I've been pitching Okami loads of ideas, and I don't know why I can't do.
Honestly, there's no way that they can get the map right. It's a complex piece. Absolutely. Like, yeah, no. I mean, it's very hard to make a map that's everything for everybody with the amount of different types of people that do different types of things in EVE Online. My point is that, like, with all that in mind, like, realize that all of that data is probably not contained in the client at any given time. And so it has to pull it live. I'd almost like to open up the thing that, like, checks for calls to see what calls are made when you open up the map. Because, like, it has to assemble that data and then, like, have it be ready to go and be filtered and refresh or whatever it needs to do. Like, it's not trivial. I've made updates to UI, and, like, you would think that this stuff is just there, but it's not necessarily. That information may not all be readily available to the program at any given time. Holding everything in memory is crazy, and also it becomes extremely stale very quickly. So, like, when do you make the 100+ calls to the 100+ database transactions, or like calls to assemble all of it? Just think about when you open up your assets. If you have too many assets, how long that can take. Like, yeah, it can be complex, and keeping it all straight and performant can be a giant pain in the ass. Hey, Punch.
A podcast with you without this coming up, but like,
Sure.
I want to start young.
Yeah.
Give my kid a controller, let him fly a drone. A teenager, he could fly the Gecko. Just manually piloting that stuff. I still don't understand why I haven't been pulled into games.
Start him out in, like, a
Multiplayer
Hornet or
ships.
something,
Multiplayer
like,
ships.
yeah.
That's where you like someone.
A backseat gunner. Yeah.
Multiplayer ships.
Or
Yeah, we could have like the backpacks that carry children backpacks, kind of Björn thingy.
Yeah.
We could name that after our own Björn B.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But the things you notice when you watch someone do something and you're like, okay, following a script, and you're like taking notes, and you're like, dude, you missed 3 of the coolest parts because you were just not paying attention, or you looked at your phone or something, and I'm like, wow, this is annoying. Like just crafting an experience, like the new player experience or whatever, and you're like, okay, just missed everything.
Watching somebody else play your game can be incredibly rewarding and incredibly frustrating at the same time.
Yeah, and I think like one of the things that I have also noticed. I mean, I started playing the game when it was half a year into its lifetime, like out of beta or something like that. And a lot of the stuff I picked up back then is still muscle memory. While loads of ways to do things simpler, better, or whatever have been implemented. And there's a lot of ways in Eve to like accomplish the same result for you. Now I'm talking like just from actually navigating it.
Yeah.
That I didn't even know existed. You know, so it was really cool when we had the little things, for example, the other day, and Katko was telling us about she was in a fleet and she just had troubles with how she arranged people on the watch list. And I was like, oh right, yeah, of course, you know that's a feature that gets added or something like that. And there's been so many features like that I may have missed or whatever. I keep learning new stuff about this.
So even in we have multiple CSM channels, internal, like a core spirit.
I do have a video. It's a few years old now called Returning to Eve. Watch this first. If you are returning from before 2022, you should absolutely go back and watch that video. I go over a lot of the meaningful changes, especially what happened during scarcity or whatever. But yeah, good video to go back to refresh like all of the changes, especially from 2015 to 2022, 2023, I think it was.
Experience ecosystem where like we have like topics and subject matter experts listening. We even have CSMers saying it would be great, like literal 20-year veterans. Just we should have this, and someone said, "Dude, we have it.
We had it for 10 years."
Yeah, it's just that's a thing here.
Just like the other day, like explaining or like optimizing of the autopilot route, and we had people like Dutch Gunner that wasn't even aware that you could do that.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, next up, you mentioned it earlier. You did as well. Gold Rush. Lay it on me. What's the?
Here we go.
So that
the plan here?
That,
Where are we?
well, we're pretty good along, I'd say.
Have we found?
So what is Gold Rush? Again, this is another fan fest. We like to tease things. We like to kind of just maybe plant a seed as well. And so
Ratati on stage.
Yeah, Ratati on stage. That's right. Man of mystery. But like Gold Rush is no. Gold Rush is like an internal theme for us around development, used to just kind of inspire a direction. And I've seen a lot of like chatter about it in Discord and on the community. What is it? Speculation. I think a lot of people are speculating pretty close.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, at least the first iteration of it.
Exactly. The first iteration of it. Just to be clear, it's not an expansion. It's not the name of an expansion. It's a theme of development. And just like organizational goals, which turned into corp goals, freelance goals, and many iterations of a thing, it's something that will take thematically and kind of carry forward through expansion to expansion. So I can say, I think openly here, like you'll see the first iteration of that in the next expansion. What that is, as we get a little closer and more on the hype train, we'll start to open that up and talk about it a bit more. So when people ask, "Where's Gold Rush?" I think that's where you'll
This is a manifestation of that, the first one, the first milestone, and then we will learn from that and keep building.
But I had a Gold Rush experience in game.
Did you?
2 days ago, something like that. It was probably just the night when Operation Nemesis started. We were chilling, doing some stuff, and we're like, "Oh, let's see if there's a convoy spawn. Oh, it's in 3%. Bam, convoy spawn." And we kind of decided we were not in ships prepped for this, and we just started burning. 16 jumps, Gold Rush. There was a convoy somewhere. Did we think about what we were about to do? No. Did we have probes? No. Did we have anything thought out? No. One was in a T3 destroyer. I was in my Proteus, and then there was a Brutix hull tank. So it was really fast, for the race, and we did not arrive at the same time. I will tell you that. 16 jumps through NPC null into hostile null.
Cool.
We're there, and we're like, "Oh shit, it's probably gone." No, wait, the map says it's there. Oh, why can't I find it? Where is it? We start, just crazily running around. And it goes like, "Guys, you probably just haven't even added it to your overview." Bam. Yes, I start scanning. I find them. We start hunting them down. Local is rising. Blah blah blah. And we managed to find 2 of them.
Really
engage. They warp away. Like shit. We have to scram them.
Yeah.
We managed to get 2 of them, and we had no idea about anything. But it was really fun, and like the whole Gold Rush feel of rushing there, trying to beat somebody. Like, oh, there's somebody gonna be there before me. This is gonna be gone. So the prospect of Gold Rush sounds fun to me. I mean, I would not enjoy if this was my gameplay in every single element, but that's the point about Eve. You get these events and stuff, and if you actually participate in them and you try this stuff out, the whole, like, at least Operation Nemesis experience on the Eve side there, made me actually be a little bit late for work the morning after because we ended up spending an extra 90 minutes. It was already AM.
Yeah. And then
Bingo. Nailed it. See, this is exactly what I've been talking about. So the Vanguard convoy system. is basically a proof of concept of Gold Rush. So what's actually going on? Well, like back in 2019, 2020-ish time period when they were talking about changing up the universe, they talked about things like weather, right? So the idea that, you know, certain systems like will have different effects that can change what's going on in that system. And we see this kind of play out through things like invasions, incursions, metaliminal storms. These are all weather effects that can change the rules of a given system over a period of time, making systems more mutable. And this also includes the introducing new opportunities. Some of them are more direct, like metaliminal storms, creating new sites. Some of them are more just directly focused around the site itself, like things like using the AO blue stars and the border ore stuff in order to deal with ore supply issues, right? So now there's a reason why a system is suddenly interesting in a meaningful way. What Gold Rush is doing is basically integrating with the map and other discovery tools to make it so that things happen in the universe. Not only does the universe kind of shape and mold and change over time, and is dynamic over time, but also like things happen. And those things that happen have increased visibility, right? Things already happen in the game. Like if a system is become highly corrupted, then there'll be new packs to go roam around, so you can go roam around and go hunt them down and all this sort of stuff. But what Gold Rush does is it integrates visibility tools like the map in order to be like, hey, this area here is suddenly very interesting for this reason. And everybody has to rush to where the gold is. And these are like such short flash in the pan focuses that it would probably be difficult for, say, a null block to suddenly, you know, lock it down and do all this different stuff in the same way of like something that's more long term, or even something that's a bigger effort, like say a Sodio might be, right? Those are kind of like a Gold Rushy sort of event on a nullsec scale. They want to do stuff that's more on a individual player, small group sort of scale, where things are interesting, but there's enough different things that's going on that you need to suddenly stop what your normal plan in order to deal with this opportunistic thing, which may involve you being ill prepared. It may involve you, having to compete with other people. It may be just a total throw out of your old plans. But that is basically like the next step of making a living universe that we live in, is having things happen in the universe. Some of it might be caused by Vanguard. Some of it might be caused by a different lore event. Some of it might be a bigger context to another event that's happening, like the Winter event or the Blood Raider event or something like that. You know, exciting moments that can be seen on the map, notified through the news, things like skyhooks being hacked, you know, all these kinds of things just throughout the universe instead. That is, in essence, what Gold Rush is, and how the new map and the functionality of the new map is absolutely critical to them being able to do this stuff, right? Because in essence, Gold Rush isn't anything new in the fact of having temporary sites that appear in special places, but it's the discovery tools that are attached to it that ends up making it valuable, right? So now, you know, we did the convoy thing before, where the convoys just had to be discovered by players, and that was pretty cool. But it's even cooler if there's something where like the universe is doing things, and you can actually notice those things happening on the map. And then when they happen, you can then read about them in the news, in the New Eden News, a few days later, because something actually happened and that you were a participant in it, right? Like that's the dream, ultimately, is that these events could be narrativized by CCP.
You're all of a sudden somewhere else, and like, why not do something else? Mess up something, like raid a skyhook or whatever. Just
did we grab 6 kills on our way back? Yes, we did.
Exactly.
Hell yeah.
So, so this sounded like a script, almost. Like I didn't know even you guys did this, but like this is exactly what the idea was. Just,
I came over
just to have fun with it.
I came over to Akami in the morning after, and just like the team, I was like, guys, I got exactly what I wanted there. Except the only thing I would have wanted was to get a fight on the convoy, which didn't happen.
Yeah.
Because the people that found it after us were like friends.
Okay.
Could have killed them though, just for the concept.
Yeah, maybe should have.
How dare you have friends?
That's the idea.
Now
It's
they
kind
know.
of like a surprise and delight. Like, okay.
Yeah. And then like
not
Blacks
everyone's
and
gonna do
everything,
it.
you know,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
awesome.
You just don't have to do it. Like not every content is for everyone. So it's I think if we just jump into what we'd like to do better or more in the future. And I'm not saying this is Gold Rush. This was a Gold Rush moment. It was a fun anticipation thing. But we have been building a bridge from Vanguard since First Strike, since 2 years ago. And that's just our commitment to say, this is not an if or maybe or anything. It's a hard commitment that we're going to have multiple links between the games, both to and from Eve to Vanguard, Vanguard to Eve. We are just focusing on building one strand at a time. Like it's going to be a web in the end, because there's no one single connection that's going to make like everything fun and great for everyone. So it's way more, okay, can we have an impact here on insurgencies? That was the first step. Vanguard players do stuff that raises the insurgency level, helping the pirates or fighting against the pirates. That was just test one, temporarily, because we don't want to mess up the ecosystem. We want to do something crazy to undermine the activities of everyone else. So just like really soft. And then you kind of get the feeling of like, why even bother? We're going to find the balance. We're going to tune this and iterate on it. So we are
Right. The first time it was literally just like a mechanical test. It didn't have enough impact to even be said that it controlled the invasion, and they specifically did it that way. But it was enough that we could be like, it did work, right? Like maybe 3% out of the 100% gets done by Vanguard. But it proved that it worked. And that was what was important.
planning to have evergreen connections, not just event-based, when Vanguard is fully live 24/7. There will, like, we hope to have multiple links, gameplay to gameplay, basically, asynchronous. So, like, we don't have to have, like, you know, you're not saying, like, fire now. Like, it won't work. There are different time zones. So cool, though. I'm not saying never, but it's just very hard, and it involves a lot of waiting for both parties.
Yep.
And it just doesn't make sense. You're combined.
Reminder, structure timers are timers that everyone's paying attention to. You already have them set up. You can already have everybody's attention on them. Structure timers.
ARMS doesn't mean...
We're proving and testing that this stuff works.
Yes.
And what can they add it on to?
Technical point.
So things happen in one game, they trigger events in the other game.
Exactly.
And now,
that's
exactly
to somebody that maybe isn't in development, when I say triggers an event in the other game, that kind of sounds like, oh, it spawns a convoy. But that could also be, it raises a standing that my character has. Or
exactly.
it can be almost whatever.
It can be almost whatever. Yeah. So for me, for this event, like, I'm incredibly happy with it. Like, I think it's going really well.
Feedback is good.
Yeah, feedback is good. Like, I've seen tons of feedback. Some people have like super valid like critique of it as well.
I think
Happy
it
to
went
hear
really
that.
well.
I think just like the most important parts for me were when you're in Eve, you can see that people are doing something in Vanguard. And when they do enough of that thing, you can see where they are in progress. Something happens, the universe responds to that and creates something interesting that anyone could participate in. So and find fun and rewarding. And it sounds like you had a moment with that, which is great.
I did. I think the only thing that like I would have wanted from this, which I know is something that we've already discussed internally and has been in the feedback, is basically Eve is vast. And if I or somebody affiliated with me goes in and puts in the effort in Vanguard, and as of now this is communal goals and random spawns and everything like that, like how does that affect me or my group or my corporation or something like that?
This is great for all of us. How can it be good for me and my friends? Yes.
But obviously I would never think of, I would only think of I would not, no way I would be looking for me.
I think it's just I think I answered it somewhere on something, Discord or
yes,
Reddit
go
or
somewhere and
go somewhere and find it.
And you will find the answer.
It to me, it's like it can be inferred. Like that's the obvious next step. Maybe it's not obvious to everyone. Like nothing is obvious, but the next step is what we call social affiliation. So like, how can Vanguard say, I'm going to promote a side, pick a side and help that, like specifically. So let's say, we've already done that with the insurgency. You would help the pirates or the anti-pirates, or you can help the angels or the Guristas. Like, so we've already said, like, you can help these or these. But how can you help player organizations? Then you need some kind of social affiliation or connection. I'll take it off the table. We're not going to do the same corporations. Like, there's not going to be a matching corporation on the Vanguard side. That's just like not what we're aiming for. We're aiming for more a loose affiliation where you can say like, I wanted to support X. And the simplest way to do that would just be like, here's a list of corporations in Eve. Which ones do you want to like affiliate yourself with? Like not even be a part of. It's like, I'm going to support these guys. And when that happens, then now we have a connection to say like, okay, where do they live? What's proximity to that, etc. And have some kind of smart engine that's now listening to loads of choices on the planet side, kind of being translated to something on the space side.
There's also bastions, right? And bastions are going to have sort of locality and regionality to them. So as you're saying, like, I want to spawn convoys for us with some degree of certainty. Maybe you do things in Vanguard related to that bastion, which meant it would respond in that regionality in Eve.
Yeah.
That kind
Yes.
of
And
stuff.
Maybe on a constellation level or not necessarily in a
I-
system.
you're mentioning it as like convoys, but obviously that's kind of just like
yeah,
a broad
I mean,
thing
it
as
could
well.
be whatever. I'm just using the specific example
yeah.
we have today.
Yeah, but I think from my experience as a player, I'm at least really pleased with the experience I've gotten there, I really look forward to the connection, and I'm sure Eve players will find a way to have the same cooperation on both sides. But let's figure that out.
The Eve players solve.
Well, the question is,
many
can you put
things.
your
Anything else we want
your Vanguard Corporation in your alliance?
Yeah, I mean, I'll touch on it real quick. I think the number of convoys we're seeing spawning right now is a little bit lower than we anticipated. So it's always hard to tune these things, especially because it's between 2 games and one doesn't have a full like continual release right now. So with that said, I think in the heading into the next weekend or so here, we're looking at tuning that up a bit, maybe just rebalancing and changing a few things about the convoys overall. But this is an experimental thing for us. We're learning, so we're just going to keep an eye on it and just keep make any small adjustments as we need to. So the first one's going to come soon, and we'll see where things go from there.
And err on the safe side. That's the whole philosophy around this. We don't want to mess
And
up.
obviously, it
Start
went
low,
from
then increase over time.
On Vanguard itself,
it started with 3, then went to 9, and then went to 12 right at the very end. Now it's over.
I think it's in your launcher. Go try it out. It is actually. Don't take my word for it. Watch streamers. Check out some of the just the solid reviews that are both on Eve Reddit forums, Eve Vanguard Reddit. There's
Only
just a
check
lot
out the
of
solid
interesting
reviews.
stuff there. It's almost like a microcosm of Eve. It is the idea behind the whole ecosystem. It's career based. It's activity based.
Yeah.
It's not an extraction shooter. It's way more of a sandbox of activities.
I think if
Just
you
go
look
try it.
into that bit, and because that ties back into Eve, once people start playing it and kind of understand that the gameplay loop is in like your daily loop is in many ways very similar to what you would do on Eve. It's just at a faster pace. It's in a different way. Kind
Eve is an extraction shooter. You deploy and extract.
You deploy and you undock and you try to get back.
With loot.
Usually you don't, but like at least not if you fly with me.
Lose
But-
everything. Lose everything if
But
you
that's
die.
my friends. Like you said earlier.
Right. Yeah.
But
of
no,
course.
but like, and I never really got that sense as strongly while playtesting stuff until now in Operation Nemesis, where it's like, oh, there are Vanguards over there. We're not shooting each other because we're kind of trying to just finish the same objective here. I'm very that.
It was crazy how many times I ran into other players in Vanguard and they ended up not killing me. In fact, there was one where I started shooting him and they got me and then they brought me back up. And so I was like, I guess you win? We're just going to go our own ways now.
You know, somebody there. There's a bear over there. He just recently ate, so he's not hungry. Kind of, it's all of that, and yeah, how it doesn't quite feel like a deployment and an extraction where you're trying to survive as long as you can and then get out with the stuff, kind of just to go back in with it, but you're rather searching for specific resources for your industry, for all that
Blueprints,
stuff.
all that stuff. It's a objective-based progression. You want to keep progressing. It's not just about.
I almost feel like we could have even done a little bit less of it this time around, because like in Eve you don't want to fly your Corvette too long, and that's kind of what you're doing when you.
Was that you? That was you? No, I don't know. It might have been you. I think it was in Aftermath. I don't know.
Dropping in Vanguard at first now, but
I think it's just how we have approached it. To be very honest,
people are just
and
getting
open.
the true feeling.
I think now, like Pinocchio is becoming a little bit more of a real boy in that sense. So it was harder last time to kind of see where we were going. I think this is like fleshes out most of the core systems that we're aiming for, and now more polish, more things to do. I think is something that we want to aim at.
Yeah. There's one other thing that you mentioned to me that you really wanted to discuss. The Union days and so like we had the Kaldari Union Day the other day. All these faction days and kind of events that, I mean, some people feel like they've kind of faded.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Oh boy. I hadn't even expected this section for some reason. I am very interested to what they have to say. Okay. Well, we've talked about it before, but either way, we also know a little bit more about the Crimson Harvest and how they've managed to salvage one of the things that were special about the hunt and brought it over to Crimson Harvest, which we talked about on Tuesday. This is interesting. Let's go ahead and go.
I just wanted to touch on that because there is a lot of like community feedback with it, and I think it's better just to be like transparent and talk about it. This was all like I think pre-me. I actually never really participated in building these events, but there's something that there's a lot of passion for in the community. Are we going to do them again? Do we want to do them? I think we do want to do them. It's just a matter of like we're finding this balance between our major updates and our expansions, and like weaving that sort of like thread and creating sort of like sanity for ourselves to do these things. So for the time being, we've just not made them a priority, and I don't think that they will be for the next, foreseeable little future. But that said, we do still try to find ways to nod to them. We look for narrative moments to just speak to them, like in game in different ways where we can. And will they ever come back? It's certainly on the table. I don't know what you think. It's just a matter of like.
I think I talked about this before. It was just a little bit of a kind of scatter shotgun approach to some of these, and we didn't like. Some people love them, and that's basically everything we do. Like it's just like how big of a percent of the player base likes them, and I think we had to kind of weigh everything together. And the same people that do these events are people who do Podfin updates. They do different content things. And we basically invested more in the health of the ecosystem and kind of stronger features than sporadic events. And that was just a strategic and tactical choice.
I think it's probably though a discussion point worth having maybe on a broader scale. If we look past just the event itself, like you're saying, the development and everything has been super focused now for a while on balancing, introducing new mechanics, fixing areas of space that needed reworks or love. Maybe it's also something that we should start trying to do more, which is just the narrative bit, because just the fact that people are talking about this has to do with those things. So
yeah, I think like narrative is super important to us. Earlier this year, we had a new narrative designer that joined us. I think folks got to meet her at FanFest this year, which was great. So that's all settling, and we definitely try to figure out what is effective narrative in EVE Online. How do we want to tell stories? And
I'll tell you what's not effective. Dancing around the presidential election and tiptoeing on it for 6 months and not actually doing anything with it and making it feel like the entire system is going nowhere. That's not how to handle it.
And what is also like sane for us as developers, because I think there can be these passion projects. I'll call it the Drifter Crisis as one, where we had like a group of really, intensely invested individuals who wanted to make this happen. And we look at that and say, like, is this a sustainable, repeatable thing for ourselves that we can, do with some degree of sanity, and just look for the best approach to both like bringing people like the most exciting, interesting things that we can for EVE Online. So new features, new ships, balance patches, and then finding a way to say like, how do we keep this sort of like living storytelling happen among all of that? Because like EVE has narrative. I think there's probably maybe we can have a more narrative chat someday.
Yeah, but probably just maybe surfacing it a little bit more again, because it's like it was so strong early on, but it's kind of hard to balance them out. Like, and now I'm off topic. I'm talking about this more as an enjoyer rather than ever a dev.
Yeah.
But like, is the narrative of EVE right now what's happening with players, or is it the history of how the factions and such are there?
It's both. It's both. But we like. I mean, go for it. I think you're going to say.
I think we like, for example, since Uprising, and maybe it's like not super clear. It's clear to us when we know the scripts and we see the things happen.
Well, my point is that like beyond 6 months ago was the setup for it. There should have been a delivery sometime in the last 6 months, right? That's more of what I was saying.
But there's been a common thread for all of the expansions, like the Fracture of the Empires, the Shadow War, building the shipcasters, this leading to this, Turner. Like, this is a narrative. This is a storyline playing out, unlocking technology, like opening up new factions, creating new NPCs, the Deathless ships, all that stuff.
Drifter Crisis.
Exactly, like Drifter Crisis.
And like this new development system of like Gold Rush is so good for creating narrative moments as well too, because like, the Vanguard, just like the fact that things are spawning has story ramifications. So yeah, no, it makes sense that they would like bring this back into this topic. And
this is maybe not obvious, and probably we could do something like a recap or like tell the story like in a digestible manner.
Yeah.
But we are operating under there's a.
I mean, they have done that. Like a lot of scope videos often like recap certain pieces. Now, one big recap would be a big thing, and they have kind of done these things every once in a while. But yeah, I think that a big piece of it is also making sure that the universe portal is well constructed and tying things in game, pointing them towards the deeper lore that already exists, or watching my stream and show. like, comment, subscribe, etc., etc.
An overarching theme, multi.
Did anyone notice that there are many data cards on the ground in Vanguard maps that contain file fragments? Yes, those have actually been there since Equinox, and those are, if you piece them all together, it talks about the various different cloning systems that Upwell was using and which one that they eventually settled on. I did videos about that like back then when the Solstice event was happening. The other thing you can get is like if there's letters, like the other one is like just like letters and numbers and stuff. And that is actually the location of the gold chest on the map and the code to open the gold chest. So those ones you actually have to find each of them while you're on. Oh, those were bugs? Okay, well, whatever. That was the other reason why they were there. So if you got like Upwell planning documents with a bunch of text, those were the lore stuff about the Upwell clones. If you got ones that showed like a grid and had numbers, then that was supposedly the gold chest, which I guess didn't work during Nemesis.
Expansion theme that's going on. And I actually think it's nowhere near done. I think I know things that are happening that you don't.
Sweet things.
I mean, I will say one thing, like with the Union Days and stuff, like we have been talking, like we know the importance of the different empires to everybody. Like of all of the Empire's holidays, the one Empire holiday that I am most upset about is the Mimitar one, because that was the one that was built out the most. It is the coolest event now. There's no good reason why it couldn't be redone, since it was just like a showcase. It's all like a pageantry thing. And also it allows people to get the Mimitar tattoos, which is the only source for those items. And also the structure in the caverns, there is a station in Matar, I think it is, that is supposed to be owned by the winner of that year's event, which was won by the Thucker, and then they never did it again, so nobody else can win it now. And so, like, I think that, like, all of the other Empire Days or whatever, fine. Resource Wars event sites were really cool, and to bring them back during those things was a really good idea. But, like, I'm willing to lose all of those, and if I can get back the Mimitar one. Like, they're one of the first things you're kind of greeted with when you come into the game. You're asked to choose which you want to sort of align with. And that becomes a pretty core part of a lot of people's identities. The ships you fly, and who you are and kind of who you represent in game. And there's big role-playing groups. So we know like how important the empires are, and I think we'd love to do more there. So I don't know what that looks like yet, but I'm just saying we reflect that we understand the importance and that we'd love to see them kind of rise up a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You also mentioned earlier, like the Drifter Crisis.
Mm-hmm.
We've had quite a few events. Crimson Harvest seems to come around at a similar time every year. GM Week coming up. There's loads of events still.
Yeah.
So it's not a question of, something necessarily being like
they've been
less
replaced
events.
by other things, yes, in some way.
Yeah, we're not saying that events don't happen. We're saying that there were events that had things to do that were pulled from the game, and that sucks. Right? That's it. There's no resource wars. There was no hunt ability to pull up implants. That obviously gets changed with Crimson Harvest now. But like there were things that were missing in the game after pulling those particular events, not just the concept of events altogether.
Yeah, and there couldn't always be an event either. But I agree, like especially with the factions and such that
I think there's tent poles that we need to stick to, and you mentioned Crimson Harvest, Winter Nexus, Capture Day. Like those are the kind of tent pole things that we've committed to. I think there's space for one more, just to kind of even out the year.
I can come up with some ideas.
I think
there's
there's
Bonanza Week.
Yeah,
We can do a lot.
But I think
Liberation Day.
The issue is also like, can it be? Is it repeatable? Kind of like expected content, or like what's the expectation? Is it I like it because it's always the same, or like it because something happens at the same time? These are two different expectations, because one might
The
say,
second
like,
one.
it's just a reskin since last year, and we were like,
Okay, I'll answer that question directly. And this is from me, but I feel like if you disagree with me, post it in the comments below or in the comments here. But I'm just going to say on behalf of, for me, the fact that it happens in a consistent way is like the better thing. Like the fact that I know in Halloween, in October, I'm going to be doing Crimson Harvest stuff is the good part. The fact that it's always the same actually is the disappointment that I put up with. right? I would really love it if every single year it was a slightly different challenge so we can work it all out. I'd really love it if I didn't have to just say, hey, go watch last year's videos to figure out what's going on this year. That'd be great. We tolerate them being the same site every time.
Yeah, but these people love that part.
It's the novelty of them that's useful. If you need to pull out the sites and put them somewhere else to reskin later on so that way people can have them all the time, that's fine. I do appreciate Crimson Harvest this year of having a combination of the older sites plus newer sites. Might as well not get rid of the older sites. That's true. But newer stuff means new things to play around with. That is perfect. Go ahead, just keep building off of it. Keep making new ones, whatever it is. Just don't go backwards.
Part like this, that's their favorite part.
Or
when
rest
we
on your
redo the
laurels.
thing. So it is also driven by like multiple.
It is true. Like if the winter event comes and there isn't an ice mining component into like using the filaments to go into low sec in order to mine ice, there are people that are going to be disappointed in that because that's like a thing that people like to do that can happen once a year. But so I'm not saying that you can't change that. You can change maybe some of the elements of it. You could tweak it a little bit. But the point is that like giving us novel things to play around with is ultimately the thing that's exciting.
Motivations, I think. So it's hard to please everyone. Is my
Novel doesn't have to mean hard.
It's impossible to please everyone. It would always.
And
always work.
to be honest with Eve, I don't think we should. I don't think we
No.
should try to please everybody. I think we should really focus on who we want to make these things for and make it as good for them as
Exactly.
possible.
Yeah.
And it's such a big universe with so many things to do that there is something for everybody.
exactly.
What I was explaining with my experience with the convoy
Convoys,
when
yeah.
I was running after them, it wasn't solved content.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what was beautiful about it, because the unsolved content that I play is mostly PvP.
Unsolved,
The PvE
novel.
stuff I do is very solved content, but that was unsolved content for me. You know?
So many side my Okami side tangent here. The thing that I've
The
already
Okami side.
I've
In before they take away the high sec filaments so we can eat off nulls to get at high sec faster. I think that that's great. I think that it's perfect. I think it's great because it can only happen once a year, which is totally fine. And also, like, it's one of those things that everybody thinks it's easy, and then they use it, and invariably they end up in one of the 2 high sec islands that also always have a metaliminal storm. And so their problem is not as straightforward as they were hoping it would be. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. I'm totally okay with that.
We've talked a little bit about this on different dev chats and stuff. But what you're seeing, I think, is the start of something that I'm calling like dynamism, which is surprise and not being able to necessarily 100% pin down exactly how something will work, but have to be clever, use a little ingenuity, maybe make some quick decisions and change what you're doing in a moment to say like, there's an opportunity here. Do we jump on it or not? And like that's something that I'm looking forward to us kind of iterating on more and more in the next couple of years, probably.
And
Unpredictable.
Yeah, but that sounds like you're saying like a beautiful way to move forward, but at the same time, like endless unpredictability is not something that everybody wants. So that's where we
Yes.
get back to that point.
Yeah.
But like, I completely agree. Like these moments where it's like I just gotta go for it.
Some people like to log in, go start up their mining op, go mine. They know where they're going.
I think that's the problem with the weather idea. Is that like, well, not problem, but like the challenge with the weather idea, which is that like nobody likes their thing to be disrupted. Like the whole promise of it is sometimes you won't be able to do what you expect to be able to do. Sometimes there'll be better things to do, right? And a lot of times when we talk about the weather of Eve, we talk about things that are disruptive, right? Like when there are Triglavians in your system or when a fob is in your system. And so now you have to deal with those, right? There's a lot of like negative events that can happen that make it so that you don't like the event system. You actually like when things are stable, that's good. And then when things are happening, that's bad. That's getting in the way of you doing the thing that you want to do consistently. And so I think that that's one of the struggles that they've had when it comes to like introducing dynamic stuff to EVE Online, is that very often that dynamic stuff means dynamic challenges that you don't normally expect. Whereas this kind of Gold Rush thing is very focused on opportunities that you can ignore if you don't want to deal with it, but are exciting if you jump on them, right? So it's a dynamism that doesn't create negative side effects, right? Like, we all agree that when an invasion comes in and makes a high sec system low sec, that is incredibly impactful. That is a very big change, but it's a change that adds opportunities for some people, but a lot of people are just going to see it as the disruption that it creates, right? So just creating new events that spawn up that we can do or not do, that have different effects, that is not disruptive to what's normally going on in those areas, outside of additional traffic, I think I can understand why they as a company have decided to like reorient towards those goals as opposed to like system alteration effects where people could just be unhappy with those.
And that's chill. That's the game they want to play. We know that. So like that will be there for them. And then some people like opportunities like yourself. When you log in, you're like, yeah, let's go check out and fight some people over here or something. Oh, wait, like, what's that?
Yeah.
I don't know. Screw it. Let's go check it out. And like that creates something engaging for you. So yeah.
That is a table. Just for sure.
This is a table, yes.
Yeah.
But this over here is a convoy.
Oh. Okay, we've done a whole episode.
I love how they keep going
And
back
there's
to
not
convoys. It's like the thing.
A dad joke from you.
You know, these are hard to do on the fly. I can tell my Icelandic one. I told you guys earlier. Should we do it just for the
Icelandic
lulls?
speaking?
Yeah.
Like we have to do it now, but yes.
Okay, so I'm I live in Iceland and I'm taking Icelandic classes and I'm learning words and things. I think I'm in my like 5th week right now or something. And so in my class, my teacher was teaching us some new vocabulary, and I learned the word for food. So in Icelandic, what's the word for food?
Matur.
Yeah. So I asked my Icelandic teacher. Well, I'm going to ask Rotati, have you ever had a matur baby?
What's the matter, baby?
Nothing, sugar. What's the matter with you?
This will
Okay.
go viral.
Okay.
So I think you heard this before, and then it still hurts.
Sounded even worse now.
So now I'm in Icelandic jail. I'm going there right after this in the cuffs.
Or just general
loud,
jail.
yeah,
after
exactly.
that.
All right, we're going to stop that right there. They're going to just be wrapping things up. We're going to jump into the mapping video real quick and see how much we can get through it today. Playback speed 125. Let's go.
Welcome to another dev chat. I'm CCP Monty, and this time around I'm joined by, CCP Reject and CCP Mercury. Welcome.
I don't know enough about these people to give a good introduction. I do know CCP Mercury from others. I know both of these developers, but not enough to actually add anything of value to the conversation yet.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
And thank you for coming. The two of you...
So this video is from a week ago. So this is 5 days after the previous video, 6 days ago as of this recording.
The bringer of... The bearer of good news.
I would say so, always, definitely.
Yeah.
I would hope so.
Yeah, because these two have been parading around the office, spells, we have something you have asked for.
Mm-hmm.
To kick it off, maybe, just to mention, we are here to talk about the map. And behind me, and you as well, is something which I find it funny that in 2025 people get excited over two-dimensional things.
Mm-hmm.
But here we are.
Removing a dimension and making the map better. Yep.
So, right. Yeah, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
It sounds very dramatic when you're removing a dimension.
Giving you less.
Yes.
No, we're not. But
You give me one less dimension.
yeah, there we go.
Less is more.
Yeah,
Less is more.
Less is more.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
And we've already talked for 5 minutes in a minimalism podcast that's supposed to be about minimalism. So let's get into it. But to basically just to kick it off, you guys have been working hard on the 2D map, which is part of a much broader map improvements update that's been going on. And right now, people can even test it out, right?
Yes, they can.
No.
The 2D map and a few other
So I tried to test this out on Singularity. We could by the time I got on Singularity, they were already prepping it for the next thing. So I didn't actually get a chance to play with this. But if anybody has, please let me know what you guys thought of it.
other improvements are on CC. And they're open for everyone to give it a try and test it and let us know what they feel like the map is doing good and what it's doing wrong or maybe could do better. And we would love to hear feedback and act upon it before it gets released.
Yeah, this is very much still in a period of development where feedback is very welcomed and wanted for a release later on in the year, basically.
Yeah, we've been iterating for the past few weeks, and we're looking for polishing improvements. There are a few features that we're working on that we would like to add, and they're not yet on CC. But yes, we're very open to feedback.
That's awesome. Let's maybe just start by talking about the map as a whole. There was a lot of confusion, basically, that happened post-FunFest, where obviously some renders of a 2D map and such was shown. Then we have the map update. Can you remember when? June or something like that?
Yeah, in the following expansion after FunFest.
Oh yeah, it was right away in Legion. Yeah.
So the initial push that we made into the map was just a bunch of improvements to the UX. So Mercury heroically has been kind of going through basically all of our knowledge of the map and gathering all of the intel we needed to make that first push. And most of it was simple changes to UX to reorganize, to make the map just more accessible to players. But what was shown at FanFest was then the future of what we intended to do.
Yep.
We have now taken steps in that direction. And yeah, I don't know how much we can say, but we removed the dimension.
Maybe we can show.
Yeah, we could.
Shall we?
Yeah.
Shall we? So what we're showing now, just before we go in, and the reason I mentioned this at the start with the test being live is that I figured if I'm going in to test it, what better accompanying audio than listening to the devs behind it, talk you through it. So what we are testing here now is not like the full not the full release of what should come when the
Oh my gosh, stop
final
caveating.
update of an ever-living map comes out.
Here you can see my gorgeous capsule that
I
has
just
been
wanna see the
primed
map.
and ready to look at this map. So here, opening the map,
I've seen that map before.
We have. Just you wait.
I just want to make like art from our maps.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. It's sad that it's all jumbled up into an unrecognizable mess. It does, however, have value to see it in 3D. So the 3D map is staying. But if I move my mouse down to this button right here.
Wait. I'm going to remove you because you're hiding the button. There we go.
Oh, I'm gonna
Dramatic
move
move
it
again.
on.
So we can see here it says 2D down there. I am currently on Sissy. Like I said, they updated it again. And on Sissy, if I open up the map, it's closer to what it normally looks like, where it just says A here. Oh, it has an A here, which is the abstract layout. So this is the way it currently works, and this is the way it has worked since the new map was put into the game. So their version, we go back to the video. Nope. If we go back to the video, we can see their version actually has a thing that shows 2D right there, down at the bottom. So that's different.
And then I press the button, and before your eyes, it transforms into 2D. There we
It's
go.
very different.
This is now a full representation of New Eden in 2 dimensions.
That's cool.
And as we look around our region where we are, you can see that the closer you get, the more information you get. You can.
So it's showing the. Is that the Amar logo basically?
Yeah.
being shown
Currently,
there?
we're looking at the sovereignty statistic of the map. So it's just showing you where
Okay,
everything is. The
that's-
closer you zoom in,
that's
you then
good.
get presented with the names of the systems as well as just again this gorgeous logo. But
It'd be cool to be able to put
we've
different
also
pips on
included
every
the
system.
icons and logos of people who hold SOV somewhere. So here you can see Pandemic Horde or Pandemic Legion.
That's Horde.
Horde, yeah, there you go. And down here, let's see who's here.
Oh, that's feminine. Or
Solaris.
Singularity
There
Syndicate.
you go. So
Solaris.
beautiful.
Yes.
This is your baby.
Yeah. It's really nice how this map came to
Oh
be.
man, hold on. I
Yes?
want to. There's one frame that I want to bring attention to, which is first of all that look is interesting. But no, I love the Pochfin here in the middle. Did you notice that? The Pochfin region in the center there, the triangle. That's actually pretty. That's pretty. I like it.
Yes.
This is your baby.
Yeah, it's really nice how this map came to be because every single system, there are almost 6,000, maybe a little bit more than 6,000 systems, has been manually placed in its location. We try to maintain a similar layout as the top view of the 3D universe. So
Some people were saying, "Oh man, they should." They were saying like, "Oh yeah, they should have just used Dotland." But it's like, Dotland doesn't show all of this stuff all at once. In a like a zoomable in and out kind of way. Like, yeah, you could probably use a lot of Dotland to help figure out what you want to do, like as a reference. But like, yeah, no, this takes a lot of manual work to make sure it is all laid out correctly.
the relative position of regions is inspired by that view. We're also trying to keep relative positions similar to other third-party tools well known to players, just to
Like
make
Dotland.
players' lives a little easier.
So things like jump range and such being relative.
Yes, yeah.
Can you do me one favor? I saw Stain there.
Stain?
Yeah, and when I started my journey back in 2004 as a very annoying kid on EVE Online,
you go.
Can I get that just on a black background, basically, just as a wallpaper?
That would be really cool. Now that there's like these 2D abstracted layouts of different
think that's
regions
definitely-
with patterns, like we could actually make art of the different regional patterns. That's actually pretty cool.
The future we could move into. These are all very recognizable. You can know your little constellations where you live, and for the peeps of Stain, here's your home. We spread it out, and here it is before you.
Are they called stainers?
Stainers. Stanian.
Well, it's funny that they say that because one of the very first places that, like, in the earliest days of EVE, a lot of Alliance identities were based on locations that they were based off of. And Stain Alliance was one of the big ones. Hey, thank you for that support. I can't remember. I'm not even going to begin to pronounce your name, but thank you. And I have missed you as well. It's good to be back.
Stanians?
I think that's better than what I thought of.
Stain guys.
All right. So,
Helix.
For
That's right.
instance,
Helix.
Because
That's right.
you were mentioning, like,
What's up,
can I get
Helix?
a screenshot of just this region? We have region options, or maybe layout options.
Yes.
If you can go, like, in the bottom corner and group by region. There you go. Now you're hiding all regions into a little cluster, so it makes the whole map a little easier to read, and you can explode only the region you want to see. So that makes the map a little
That's
easier.
pretty
And
cool.
you can take a screenshot and print it.
but what about like
Oh,
data?
I really
the
like
data
that.
we look at when using the map. It's really interesting, and this is something that I really enjoyed because I came over by Mercury's desk the other day, and I was like, oh, can I take a look at the 2D map and stuff like that, and I noticed really quickly
this is good
that
stuff,
they
guys.
were very much monitoring what I was doing, but not on the screen. I don't know if it's because I, had just had my nails done or something and had amazing hands, but like, did you right click or did you left click? Did you do this or did you do that? And when those questions come up, I obviously at first do not even remember what is right and left. Secondly, I have no idea because it just happens naturally after doing it all these years. It's like asking somebody, so which foot do you put forward first when you start walking?
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of the approach we've been taking. We've been taking the meticulous approach of trying to understand why people don't use this map and to make this the prevalent map in New Eden.
I guess there's also, so thing is, like for me as a player, it's very much a mix.
I'm very impressed.
The mapping game needs to be the jack of all trades. It needs to be able to basically display you everything that you need to know. But then you have these amazing tools, obviously, on the side and amazing developers doing those that kind of make these tailored experiences for us for very specific purposes. And I'm sure that those will always stay. But this is maybe more of a also unified look that could potentially also spread out after.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
So
I need to be able to find any given thing that's shown in the agency and then open it up in the map with that filter on the fly. Like I should be able to open up the agency, be like, I'm looking for asteroid belts, blah, blah, blah. And then be like, right click it, click something, and it opens up the map pre-filtered for that thing that I'm looking at in the agency.
but if you take us through some of like, just
Or just rename the agency Aura, put all of show info into that, have that integrated with the map, and have it all just be Aura, your shipboard computer.
how things are displayed. If we go into a region and we just want to see the security status, or we want to see
That's, not right now we're looking at sovereignty, but if we switch over to security status, you can see that. All of that functions the same as it does on the other map. We are also
That's
taking
so
a look
cool.
at how the data scales. So right now, if I were to select the statistics category here and find average pilots in space, you're looking at this, and or let's do player kills in space. Ships destroyed last hour. No, that one isn't hooked up. 24 hours. There we go. So you're flying around. You want to see.
Oh, that's
but are
so
those
cool!
that's just the count.
Oh, yeah. I forgot to show you that. So instead of just showing you a color and size, we will just show you the actual number. And we are taking a look for each filter. What is the appropriate way of displaying this data? And which is basically the overhaul that the map has needed for a while.
Like, this is very cool, but I also, like I said, there needs to be like multiple things that you can show on the map at the same time. Like, I should be able to pick 2 or 3 different things, have one control the aura, have one control what's shown in the middle, have little ticks on the sides or whatever. Like, I should be able to look at this and also have it show which ones of these systems have stations in it, for example.
Wild.
Yes.
Now, if we were to look at this in a 3D view, you can kind of see there are these hotspots and stuff, but right now you can't really see a difference between 7 ships destroyed and 127 ships.
Yes.
You obviously feel safer going into this system than you go into the other system, right?
Yeah.
So you want to see that immediately, and that is a thing that the 2D map will show in a much clearer way, but we are also taking a look at how the 3D map will show this, how you can immediately spot these differences instead of the only red one being 500 chips.
But when it comes to using the map like this, it's there's kind of these two different ways of kind of using it. It's one, am I looking at a specific system? But then, I mean, one of the things that many players do, they go to the map to search for content in one way or another.
Yeah.
Players in space,
Definitely.
PvE sites, Astrid
That's the integration with agency that I was just talking about.
belts, all those things.
Mhm.
Can you show us a little bit?
Well,
on those things?
On that front, we kind of actually have a new way of approaching this. So this actually works best in the 3D map, but it does work in the 2D map as well.
You can show both.
Yeah,
I mean, we're talking about map updates in
definitely.
general.
And let's say I'm flying around and I'm in my fancy new venture and I'm looking for something to mine.
Oh, fancy.
And I will just go over to this new mining category, which currently the only filter in here is or anomalies. And you'll notice that these
Hey.
pins have appeared around me. These are just
Almost
actual
3 years.
uh,
Jeez.
basically readings that outside 5 jumps you will
Okay.
see a notification that or a pin that says we can see 3 sites in the system, but if you look closer to you, you will actually get the information. I can actually see one right here, but which
But
will actually,
you would need to move to be able to like into that grouping.
But if
Okay,
I
I mean
zoom
that's
out,
cool.
we can just see how the data kind of groups together and more easily.
Ooh.
Let's say another
Okay.
filter is added which uses the same behavior. I can just very easily move closer. Oh yeah, here are 2. I can go over here. Oh, here's a grouping of them. Oh, there's a bunch over here. So
So you can start seeing based on constellations and such.
All
So
in
by the
low
way, just
sec.
for people observing this, we are viewing it on a on test and demo data. So it's
Yes.
it's not live data, and that's why maybe some of those things do not quite relate to what we would be used to seeing in
Exactly.
in New Eden.
we didn't definitely. And these are more. There are more of these out towards null and low sec.
Yep.
We're currently in high sec.
Okay, so the idea there is kind of like let's show me a hotspot to move to rather than a hot system, maybe.
Yeah.
So there's a in this area.
That'll be
there's
really
stuff
good for
going on.
like explorers.
And basically, data that is just completely unreadable at the zoom level becomes comprehensible.
It's also a pattern and an interaction that most people are already familiar with. On several maps, you just use pins to navigate and see like the big cluster and how it breaks apart. And this is an interaction that we were missing from the map, and for some filters could be more beneficial than just showing a heat map, because it's really you're looking at which area has or anomalies, and then you can break it down and see specifically on one system how many are there. And this is also not additional information, but it's a different way of visualizing this information with spatial context than what the agency was doing. Because this information is available in the agency, but lacks a little bit like the spatial context of seeing it on a map.
Okay,
I love it.
So what we're looking
More.
at mostly here, and I guess when it comes to the 2D map, we're mostly looking at how data and information and such that is already there.
Even if it's just 2 data points that I can visualize at the same time, that would be huge.
Will be displayed in 2D. Are there any more new features like the one you just mentioned with the grouping that we want people to try out now, or?
I am interested in a piece of feedback specifically, because we've been bouncing a little bit back and forth on whether to keep it or how it should behave. So if you can select like maybe a filter,
Let's do planets.
yes. So you can see that,
It's on hover.
yes. So right now, only
It does look
one
really
selected
cool.
area, I call it a focus area around your cursor, is showing data. And this is made so that it doesn't clutter the interface too much.
Just say it as it is. It is so that people like me with severe ADD,
Yes.
although I feel like I should be joining in on a multiplayer game of Minesweeper right now.
Yep.
Why do I?
I mean, I wouldn't even look, I don't think it has any sort of effect on like clearing it out or whatever, because you just because it doesn't show the data doesn't mean that the person doesn't have to process it. It does make the act of exploring things in the map a little bit more visually interesting, but I think a lot of people are going to bitch because it's just not showing everything that it can show as soon as it can show it. But I think it's actually kind of cool. It's got a cool effect. You could theoretically make it toggleable, but I don't think it makes it easier to make a decision. But it does make the act of looking through the map a little bit visibly more pleasant.
I feel like this should be a minigame.
Well, it could be. Yeah.
Could be, yeah.
That could be one of the feedbacks.
But so you can see if you can hover on just one area. Oh, one piece of feedback that we got is that sometimes I'm just interested in seeing everything. So we put a toggle. If I press Control,
there you go.
then everything lights up with the data. So you can see the difference here. We are working on adding an actual toggle that just puts it always on display as default, if you so wish. But that is also like some resources that go into it. So we would like to hear feedback from players whether they would always just wish to see it always on display, or if they like the hover interaction.
I think that the hover interaction is way more important, especially in the non-2D version, because that's the version where I'll often click on something just to see what even is related to the place that I'm hovering over.
Okay.
This is much more
if you
already
go,
laid out.
Like down to nullsec, the true sec of systems and such.
Go to Stain. We're talking about Stain.
Yeah, let's go to Stain.
Yeah.
Like showing the true sec of systems, like are they a minus 1.0 or are they a minus 1.6
you mean
or
the
something
security
like that?
status?
Yeah, the security status.
No, right. No, this is sovereignty.
It's on their label.
There you go. Yeah, it shows
Yep.
the actual.
So if you
Oh, it
press
does show the
control
true
now-
sec.
Mm-hmm. Just let me get us into the thing. Bam.
Right, then I get the whole kind of
The whole meat and
Overview
potatoes,
of
so
it.
to speak.
Yes.
Yes.
okay. This is seriously cool, guys. I think it's so pretty.
I think it's
Thank
very
you.
pretty as
It's very nice. And it's quite useful. There was one thing that we noticed. Aha.
Did you?
well. You can see.
By
it's not-
cutting live.
Yeah, it's not lighting up. Well, we gotta fix that.
Speaking of bugs, when we were testing, we realized that the way colors were were representing security on the map wasn't in thresholds. So actually, an 0.6 system sometimes would be green, like it's supposed to be. Sometimes it would be kind of yellow, like an 0.5, if the math behind it was like maybe a 0.51 instead of 0.59.
right.
Yeah.
So there was a clear switch. It was
Yes.
it was happening
Yeah.
in okay.
We didn't
That's
know,
funny.
but we fixed it.
Although that's for the proper nerd in me, that would be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
You know, because you never think about it essentially in the in high sec especially.
Yeah.
But okay, this is seriously cool.
But it was quite confusing for players, especially newer players. Like you could mix up a 0.4 with a 0.5.
Yeah, yellow is a little bit scary.
Yeah.
That explains so much.
All right. One of the things that I'm kind
I
of
don't think that. I'm not sure if that it was true. And I don't know. I don't know. I also wonder how much like the recoloring of everything that happened like a year ago had to do with this. I think that all of that was probably way before this major effort, but who knows?
I see when we're looking at it in 2D is that when viewing it from the 3D side, and I suspect for that use case, being able to swap over is probably very useful still. But the way that we display things like jump lengths
Yes.
for capital ships and black ops and stuff like that.
Yes. So
Uh,
let me just actually.
Should I steal the camera here for a second and let you,
Yeah, exactly. Let me just-
magically get into a capital ship?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Titans and high sec? What? No.
oh, we're playing this beautiful boarding animation. Let me just skip that.
Porting, are we working in station? Sorry.
Yeah, walking station. Yeah, got it. We made it.
Don't mention walking in stations.
So switching over to the map now, while in a capital ship, before you would only see this bubble.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a useful tool. It is, however, not infallible. As you can see, it's pretty easy to mistake. Let's say this dot over here that I'm pointing at, which actually isn't inside the bubble, but it looks like this. So we have added that we now highlight all of the systems within a jump range on the 3D map,
Yes.
and this will also be represented on the 2D map in a little bit of a different manner.
Interesting.
So all highlighted
That's one
systems.
hell of a jump drive you have there.
Yes. All highlighted systems are within jump range. And also, if you zoom in right
And
now.
that would be within jump range with my skills in the current ship
Yes,
I'm in.
in the current ship. You need to be boarded on the ship, otherwise you won't be able to see the jump range.
So we don't have anything yet which could be like jump planning or such.
No.
Oh,
I
but
mean,
can
like
see
a
from
little bit
the smile
brighter
that
is
it's something
good,
that
but
has at least
like
been
you could do. The biggest thing that I can see is like changing the shapes potentially should be a good way to indicate more information. But like, I wouldn't necessarily, especially with the difference in colors, be able to be 100% confident that like one jump is within jump range versus not. Like it looks like this one here is not in jump range and this one here is, but I don't even think that's true. It's great information, but I'm not sure if just making it brighter is going to be enough.
requested.
Has been discussed.
Has been discussed. Not a planner, but maybe something could come.
Maybe something could come is all I can ask for,
Yeah.
really.
Something tangential.
Yes. But on CC, you can see that when you hover, there's a little bit of a square around the circles. There you go. So every system with a square is basically a system that you can reach. However, the tooltip will tell you whether or not you can jump to that system. Because, for instance, these are in high sec, so you cannot really jump.
Yeah.
But otherwise, later on, it's also going to tell you the fatigue and the fuel consumption.
Okay. Distances, are they kind of relative or?
Yeah,
I would honestly almost even offer an option that hides all systems that are not within jump range. So I'm literally looking only at a map of all of the things that are within jump range. Like just toggle off invalid elements.
this is the distance in light years to that system from the current location.
But are you talking about the distance in writing? I'm more thinking about like the distance between dots on the map.
Oh no! Unfortunately, because this is a forced projection, not even a projection because it's been
We
manually
lost a
made.
dimension.
Yeah, we lost a
Put it that way,
dimension. So the distance is not representative of the actual physical distance between systems.
I'm
A little bit
surprised. I'm surprised the community didn't ask for the 4D map.
Yeah, there you go. Just add a dimension of time, and we'll be ready. Yeah. But this square is not the final representation, but this is very temporary.
No, but
Okay, good.
those two things, both the highlighting of the systems and then the square on this part. I mean, I guess there are a few cases where you kind of use jump drives in very various ways. One of them being, for example, no rush. I'm just about to take my jump freighter somewhere, or move my Rourke, something like that. It's not necessarily holy shit, I'm getting in a response fleet to save somebody, and I need to know if how and if I can jump. And in many ways, then like the whole 3D map, the old one, was really convenient to see, like, okay, if I jump these two gates, then this regional takes me so far that I open up into a new system, which maybe the 2D map doesn't quite
capture. No,
that's why you can kind of jump back into the 3D map pretty quickly.
Yeah,
and
neither side is
why
going to
we
be
felt
100%.
It was important because it was discussed to have this as two separate maps. Sorry, I spit on your table there.
Just as you want.
So it was discussed to have these as two separate maps. We did, however, arrive at the conclusion that just being able to swap is
more than enough.
More than enough, and more handy. You can actually see more easily kind of like where stuff is, and you can easily swap between.
You can
instead of
watch
having to
how
swap between
these
windows
move
and
to
navigate
get
to different
an
regions.
idea of
This
like
is
how the
seriously
abstraction
cool, guys.
affects it.
I really look forward to both reading up on the feedback that we get over the test. Is it open all weekend, or I let somebody else?
Yeah.
Read the news, people. That's where you will see it.
What I know is that we'll be sending out a survey to gather feedback, and we'll also have a Discord channel and a page on the CCP forum for EVE Online that will be open to get comments from players.
I would love if people go in and they see what I think I'm seeing, but I'm not very arty, but I think it's really pretty. I would love, like, for the next Nerds episode or something like that, to highlight some of the creations that might come out of it. This is really, really, colorful, pretty, fun. Something mesmerizing about when it flattens out.
Yes.
And I'm sure that effect wasn't needed, but somebody just really wanted it there. So yeah.
Also,
Oh wait, the jump bridge. That's
Yeah.
something we hadn't seen.
jump bridges are on the 2D map as well. That is important that they are represented, of course.
Why is it red in one end?
Because I don't actually know why this one is
I
red.
think it has something to do with access, I believe.
Ooh.
Yeah, maybe.
It would be really weird if I can access one end but not the other, though.
Yeah.
So it's a good point.
Yeah, so unaccessible would probably be red.
I don't actually know who it.
Yeah, and kind of like that kind of is a good point to mention. There are bugs in this. This is not ready. This is not final.
Sounds
So-
like a feature. Get somebody to like go through your one-way gate and then,
Exactly.
find your way out. This is awesome, guys. And anything you want to add before we conclude? Is there is this something in the pipeline, or is this something we should revisit once the test is done and we get closer to announcing?
I would love to revisit this, definitely. This is an ever-evolving thing, and we definitely do want to hear from the players and respond to stuff, and to talk about how we responded would be a good conversation to have, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one idea. I really want the map on a touchscreen next to me through an app. I just throwing out there. Just throwing out there. It's really something I want because it just,
Let the player base do that one.
especially the 2D map, feels like it should be poked at.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Literally.
Eve
So,
companion app. There you go.
yeah. But I mean, nobody makes apps in 25.
No.
Guys, Reject Mercury, thank you so much for coming. It was
Thanks
a
so much.
pleasure. I hope everybody just enjoys testing out the map features on.
And thank you guys for checking out these different videos with me. We were looking at Gold Rush and the new map coming. Like I said, we did talk quite a bit last video. I would recommend watching it if you haven't already, about the lore and about Vanguard and about Crimson Harvest and what's coming up next. This was about the map and about Gold Rush and kind of feature ideas and where they're going with how they're designing their features and prioritizing their development, which I'm very, very excited about. I'm not going to lie. So remember, next week is going to be the start of Crimson Harvest, which has new sites and new stuff going on. So we're going to be covering all of that, as well as any other new developments. I think there's probably some other stuff that I still haven't caught up with that is going on with EVE Online, but we'll talk about that next time. I think that this is probably good enough for today, but I do want to give a special thanks to all of my supporters that have made all of this possible. I will say that, like, I did get a new webcam. Sorry, my webcam did die. I have this like cam app. I'm going to look into other options, but if you want to help me get my webcam situation set up or any of the other things I need, I have actually created a wish list on Amazon for things that could be useful for the stream. I don't know if I've put that out yet to people, but get in the Discord, especially if you are a supporter of any kind on YouTube or on Patreon. Make sure you're there so that way you can get into the supporter chat. Because I talk to people there about what's going on, and just I really want to make sure to thank all of the people that do help out make the channel possible, because yeah, it's useful for a lot of people, and I appreciate it. Unfortunately, I don't have my top tier supporters right now. Oh, here we go. My top, and I definitely want to thank my top Immortal tier supporters: 745 NPSI, Arydanika the Queen, Bad Boy Smooth, Ebo Elite, Erladis, Elange, Flash Gordon, May, Malak Starfire, Malin, Mercuton, Mayak, Neelam, LM1, Sheesh, Susuro, and Rid. Thank you all so much, as well as Malak for your 34 months, and Helix coming in as a supporter as well. Thank you all, and I have been Ashrothi, the voice of New Eden. I've been Ashrothi. I've been playing this game since 2010, talking about it since 2012, and I'm here to put even into context for you, my fellow Empyreans. Thank you guys so much for coming, watching, liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing it with your friends, because that's how this channel grows, and we help make a better EVE Online, because a better player base makes a better EVE. With all that said, I've been Ashrothi, the voice of New Eden. Until next time, I'll see you in space.
Bring on the wrecking machine. For every city